Beneath the surface of our world lies a hidden history, one carved into stone, concealed in labyrinths and buried in silence. From vast underground cities to colossal tunnels and chambers, these constructions raise more questions than answers. Who built them? How were they engineered? And what purpose did they serve? Even with modern technology, scientists are left baffled. Join us as we uncover 7 underground structures that continue to defy logic and challenge the limits of human understanding. Hidden beneath the glamorous capital of Paris, where the lights of bustling streets and the liveliness of millions of residents never seem to fade, lies an entirely different world, the Catacombs of Paris, a massive underground ossuary containing millions of human remains. This site stands as one of Europe's most historical, yet simultaneously grim, eerie, and mysterious landmarks. Originally, the catacombs were created in the late 18th century to resolve the problem of overcrowded cemeteries. Burial grounds in Paris at the time had become a serious public health hazard due to pollution and disease. Authorities decided to move the remains into abandoned underground quarries that once supplied limestone. As a result, millions of corpses were transferred underground, forming a city of the dead that exists parallel to the city of the living above. Today, the catacombs are famous for stretching an estimated over 300 kilometers, a labyrinth so complex that even experienced explorers can lose their way. Only a small portion of this system is open to tourists, while the rest remains strictly forbidden. Yet it is precisely this secrecy, darkness, and aura of death that has turned the catacombs into the source of countless legends, strange phenomena, and haunting stories spanning centuries. What do you think about the mysterious phenomena in the catacombs of Paris? Are they simply hallucinations caused by psychology and the dark environment? Or could there truly be something supernatural hidden beneath Paris? Share your thoughts in the comments below. When stepping into the catacombs of Paris, the very first and most haunting impression is the endless walls of bleached bones stretching into the darkness. Millions of skulls and long bones are not simply piled up like in an ordinary cemetery, but instead arranged into deliberate shapes: walls, columns, decorative arches, even corridors, where bones are crafted into heart shapes or intricate symmetrical patterns. Many researchers suggest this was merely an aesthetic arrangement to reduce the horror and save space in the confined underground passages. Yet others argue that these patterns carry deeper meaning, perhaps linked to spiritual rituals symbolizing the cycle of life, death, and rebirth. This ambiguity has turned the bone walls into a form of art of death, strangely beautiful, yet evoking an indescribable chill. Hidden behind the corridors open to visitors in the catacombs of Paris lies a vast underground labyrinth, much of which remains unexplored. For centuries, groups of illegal explorers have stumbled upon secret chambers marked with strange traces, ancient graffiti carved into the walls, mysterious symbols, and even an underground cinema once built by a clandestine group. These discoveries have led many to believe that beneath Paris there may once have existed an underground community living apart from the world above and maintaining its own rituals and way of life. The very existence of such hidden rooms adds to the catacombs' aura of mystery, transforming it from merely a giant ossuary into something resembling a parallel secret city. Among the many aspects that make the catacombs of Paris world famous, perhaps the most haunting and controversial are the mysterious phenomena said to have occurred there for centuries. If entering a gigantic ossuary holding millions of skeletons is already chilling, then the stories of strange sounds, ghostly figures, and experiences beyond logic are what truly turned this place into a terrifying legend. beneath the French capital. Many visitors and explorers insist they have heard whispers echoing from deep within the darkness. These were not random noises, but voices resembling human speech, unclear and indistinct, yet enough to make one's hair stand on end. Others describe the sensation of footsteps following them, only to turn around and find the corridor completely empty. The catacombs' oppressive atmosphere, with echoes bouncing through narrow passages and absolute darkness, makes it almost impossible to separate reality from hallucination. One of the most famous urban legends tied to this place emerged in the 1990s. A videotape allegedly recorded by a man with a flashlight shows him wandering into the catacombs. At first, he seems calm, illuminating the stone walls, but the deeper he goes, the more chaotic the footage becomes. He begins gasping for breath, running frantically, the light shaking violently until the tape suddenly ends. His body was never recovered. Though many doubt the authenticity, the video cemented the catacombs' reputation as the maze that swallows men. Even earlier during the 19th century, miners and workers reported strange encounters. Some claimed to see ghostly white figures gliding through corridors, even passing through solid stone walls. Others spoke of flickering green lights, drifting in the dark as if spirits hovered nearby. One well-known tale recounts a group of young people exploring illegally on Halloween night. At a crossroads in the tunnels, every flashlight abruptly went out, and in total darkness they heard a choir-like song echoing from deep within. Terrified, they fled, wandering for hours before finally escaping. Of course, modern science offers rational explanations. Researchers suggest oxygen deprivation in the tunnels could cause hallucinations, while extreme fear might make people perceive sounds that don't exist. The long, narrow tunnels also create unique acoustic effects, turning footsteps or gusts of wind into what seem like voices or whispers. Yet these explanations have never fully erased the power of the stories. If it is only imagination, why have so many people at different times reported similar experiences? It is precisely this blur between science and the supernatural, between hallucination and reality, that keeps the catacombs of Paris shrouded in mystery. For some, it is simply the product of darkness, suffocation, and anxious minds. But for others, the catacombs are more than a burial site. They are a dwelling for forces beyond human understanding. Perhaps it is this very uncertainty that makes the catacombs so frightening, yet so compelling a place, where even in the modern age, we must still ask, is there truly something hiding in the shadows? To this day, researchers continue to debate whether the catacombs are merely a burial site or if they conceal deeper secrets. The symbols carved on the walls, restricted zones, and unexplained phenomena all suggest the existence of a hidden world beneath Paris. For tourists, the catacombs serve as a place of reflection on mortality, a dark museum of history. For lovers of the occult, however, they stand as evidence that forces beyond human understanding may linger here. The catacombs of Paris are more than an underground structure holding 6 million skeletons. They are a symbol of death, of mystery, and of phenomena beyond explanation. It is the fusion of history and the supernatural that has cemented their reputation as one of the world's most enigmatic sites. Visitors come to see to learn, but also to wonder, is there something hidden in the cold corridors of this underground city? A truth humanity is not yet ready to face. Beneath the colossal pyramids of Teotihuacan, the Pyramid of the Sun, the Pyramid of the Moon, and the Pyramid of the Feathered Serpent, lies a secret few ever imagined. While this ancient Mexican city dazzled the world with its monumental avenues and temples hidden below its stone surface, is something far stranger, a vast underground tunnel, carved deep into the earth, glittering like a starry sky and filled with offerings, bones, and even pools of liquid mercury. For centuries, it remained concealed, waiting to be rediscovered, and when it was archaeologists realized Teotihuacan was not just a city of gods above the ground, but also a gateway to the underworld below. This tunnel challenges everything we thought we knew, suggesting that its builders saw life-death and the cosmos as one interconnected journey. What do you think this tunnel was truly built for? A tomb, a cosmic map, or a sacred gateway to the underworld? Share your thoughts in the comments below. In 2003, a sudden heavy rain caused a sinkhole to appear near the Pyramid of the Feathered Serpent at Teotihuacan. When archaeologists investigated, they realized that beneath the hole was not a natural fissure, but the entrance to a mysterious, man-made construction. The tunnel descended about 15 meters underground and then stretched over 100 meters, running straight toward the heart of the pyramid. From the very first steps, it was clear this was no accidental feature. The walls and floor bore signs of careful reinforcement, evidence of sophisticated tunneling techniques far beyond a simple agricultural society. Creating such a deep and extensive underground passage demanded the coordination of a powerful organizational system, remarkable technical knowledge, and above all, a sacred purpose significant enough to justify the enormous effort invested by the people of Teotihuacan. The inner structure of the Teotihuacan tunnel left archaeologists in awe. It was not merely a dark, simple corridor, but rather designed as a miniature cosmos. The walls and floor were coated with minerals containing pyrite, the so-called fool's gold, capable of reflecting light. When torches illuminated the space, the entire chamber glowed and sparkled like a starry sky, giving the impression that anyone entering was leaving the physical world behind to step into a sacred realm. Along the passage, small underground chambers were arranged like stations on a spiritual journey, perhaps intended for rituals or offerings. Particularly striking were several circular pits discovered, believed to symbolize sacred lakes or gateways to the afterlife. Yet the most shocking feature was the presence of liquid mercury, a substance extremely rare and hazardous in archaeology. This shimmering liquid is thought to represent a legendary underground river, symbolizing the movement of the cosmos or the path that souls would take through the many layers of existence. The artifacts unearthed inside also revealed that this tunnel was far from ordinary. Archaeologists recovered stone statues, jade masks, finely crafted pottery, cacao beans, considered highly valuable, and seashells brought from distant coasts. All of these pointed to a ceremonial space where humans offered their most precious goods to the gods. Particularly striking were human and animal bones, suggesting gruesome rituals of sacrifice. Clearly, this was not just a hidden treasury, but a symbolic world of life, death, and rebirth. The question that most troubles archaeologists and researchers is this: why did the people of Teotihuacan build this tunnel? Clearly, it was not a random construction, nor simply a storage space for goods or a structure for daily use. Every detail inside, from the glittering pyrite, the underground chambers, the strange circular pits to the presence of liquid mercury, all point to a purpose that transcended material life, reaching into the realm of spirituality and cosmic belief. One widespread theory suggests the tunnel was a symbol of the underworld Mictlan in ancient Central American religion. The people of Teotihuacan believed the universe was divided into multiple levels, including the heavens, the earthly plane, and the underworld. Entering the tunnel may have symbolized reenacting the soul's journey after death, passing through darkness, overcoming trials, and finally encountering the gods. This journey reflected the eternal cycle of life and death, just as the sun sets each evening only to rise again the next day. Another theory emphasizes the role of the elite. The tunnel may have served as a sacred pathway reserved for priests and rulers. Entering this otherworldly space with its walls sparkling like stars and its circular pits representing planets, they may have been recreating a miniature cosmos. Each ritual performed inside was not only communication with the gods, but also a way for leaders to affirm their sacred authority before the community, to prove they were not merely human, but divine embodiments. However, some argue that the tunnel was in fact a royal tomb prepared for the highest rulers of Teotihuacan. The discovery of countless valuable offerings strengthens this hypothesis. Yet the complete absence of human remains presents a troubling paradox. If it truly was a tomb, why has no trace of the dead been found? Perhaps the Teotihuacan people practiced an unusual form of burial, or the remains were removed for religious reasons. A bolder interpretation sees the tunnel as a cosmic map carved in stone. Here, liquid mercury symbolized underground rivers, circular pits represented planets, and the entire corridor embodied the axis linking heaven, earth, and the underworld. When priests entered, they were not simply walking through a physical passage, but immersing themselves in an artificial galaxy beneath the earth. This reflects both the complex cosmology and the boundless imagination of Teotihuacan's people builders, not only of a city for living, but of monuments designed to connect with eternity. It is this ambiguity of function that has turned the Teotihuacan tunnel into one of history's great enigmas. It may have been a gateway for souls to cross into another world, a tomb for great leaders, or a cosmic map enabling humans to touch the infinite. Whatever the final answer, one thing is certain: the tunnel embodies a profound belief that life, death, and the universe are all intertwined within an endless cycle. It is precisely this mysterious function that makes the tunnel one of the most astonishing discoveries at Teotihuacan. If it were merely a technical construction, it would not have been so elaborately decorated. If only a burial site, it would not have required thousands of valuable artifacts. If only a corridor, it would not have been transformed into an ethereal realm with pyrite and mercury. Clearly, its purpose transcended daily needs. It was religious, ritualistic, and spiritual. The tunnel was a bridge between humans and gods, a testament to the profound connection between architecture belief and cosmology at Teotihuacan. Today, stepping into this tunnel gives visitors and scholars alike the sense of entering another world. A world where light sparkles on the walls, like stars, where people more than a millennium ago knelt, prayed, offered gifts, and perhaps trembled with awe. A world not meant for living or dwelling, but for imagining, connecting, and stepping into the invisible. The Teotihuacan tunnel remains an unsolved enigma, yet this very mystery has made it a focal point of the entire ancient city. It reminds us that people of the past did not build only to survive, but also to dream, to believe, and to seek meanings beyond the limits of mortal life. And perhaps that is what makes Teotihuacan eternally captivating, a city of gods with secret gateways leading down to realms that only human imagination can touch. In 1938, during excavations at the village of Kuyut Rabua, near Baghdad, German archaeologist Wilhelm König discovered a strange artifact, a ceramic jar about 14 meters tall, narrow at the mouth, containing a cylindrical copper tube sealed with bitumen at the top, and inside the tube was a corroded iron rod. At first glance, many assumed it was just a paper scroll container or a simple ritual object. But upon closer inspection, König and later researchers realized its structure was almost identical to that of a modern electric battery. the iron rod served as the cathode, the copper tube as the anode, and the electrolyte could have been vinegar, lemon juice, or a mild acid solution. In this way, the jar was fully capable of producing a voltage of about 1 volt. What shocked scholars was its dating. The jar belonged to the Parthian or Sassanid period around the 2nd century BCE to the 3rd century CE. In other words, it appeared more than 1,000 years before Alessandro Volta invented the modern battery in 1800. If it truly was a battery, then ancient humans possessed knowledge of electricity far earlier than previously thought. From this point on, the story of the Baghdad battery was born, becoming one of the most famous enigmas of modern archaeology. Do you think the Baghdad battery was truly an ancient source of electricity or just a coincidence in design? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your theory. The structure of the Baghdad battery may appear simple at first glance, but a closer look reveals an arrangement that is unlikely to be accidental. First, the ceramic jar serves as the outer casing, crafted like a small bottle with a narrow neck just wide enough to hold liquid inside without easily evaporating. Next, a copper tube is neatly placed inside the jar, its bottom sealed with lead or bitumen to prevent leakage. This detail has led many scholars to believe that the ancients deliberately tried to isolate the metal from the external environment. Inside the copper tube lies a corroded iron rod held in the center and fixed with bitumen at the jar's mouth, which both insulates it and prevents direct contact with the air. When a mild acidic solution such as vinegar or lemon juice is poured in an electrochemical reaction, occurs between the two different metals, generating a weak current of about 0.8 to 1 volt. Modern laboratory experiments show that if multiple jars of this kind are connected in series, the voltage can increase significantly enough to light a small bulb or produce a tingling sensation when touched. It is precisely this harmonious combination of ceramic, copper, iron, and bitumen that has turned the jar into a mysterious and hotly debated artifact. The most hotly debated aspect of the Baghdad battery is its true purpose. Proving that the ceramic jar could generate a weak current is not enough to confirm that the ancients really used it as a battery. The bigger question, and the one that continues to trouble scholars, is this: if it really could generate electricity, then what did the ancients use that electricity for? One of the most popular theories is electroplating technology. In modern methods, electroplating uses an electric current to coat a surface with a thin layer of gold or silver, creating a shiny and luxurious appearance. Some artifacts found in Mesopotamia show very thin metal coatings, prompting the question, could the Parthians or the Sassanids have known about electroplating thousands of years ago? If true, this would mean they possessed a level of technical sophistication far beyond what we usually imagine for an ancient society. However, this theory has been met with strong criticism, since those thin coatings could also have been produced by traditional techniques without electricity. Another theory with a medical angle suggests the jar was used for primitive electrotherapy. When the weak current from the jar passed through the skin, it could create a tingling, prickling, or numbing sensation. To people in antiquity, such an effect might have been perceived as a supernatural energy or a mystical form of healing. Some scholars propose that priests or healers may have used the jar during healing rituals to inspire faith in patients. This theory gains weight when we recall that the ancient Greeks used electric fish and eels to relieve pain. If the Greeks could harness natural electricity for medicine, then perhaps the Parthians creating artificial electricity with a jar was not so far-fetched. Still, the theory that has captured the most imagination is its use in religious or ritual contexts. Imagine a priest standing inside a temple, holding the strange jar. He connects a thin metal wire from the jar and gently touches a devotee's hand. Suddenly, the person feels a mild shock, as if touched by the hand of a god. In an ancient religious setting, such an experience would leave a powerful impression, convincing the community that the priest truly had a connection to the divine. This theory helps explain why we have found no evidence of widespread electrical applications. The device may simply have been a ritual prop used to enhance spiritual authority. It was not a scientific tool, but rather a key to unlock mystical experiences and strengthen the power of the priesthood. Finally, many skeptical archaeologists argue that all of this is simply the projection of modern imagination. According to them, the jar was merely a scroll holder with a metal fitting or a simple storage vessel unrelated to electricity. Its shape just happens to resemble a battery, and from that coincidence, people in the 20th century built a series of sensational theories. In this view, the fame of the Baghdad battery arises not from its true value, but from our desire to believe in lost technologies of the ancients. It is precisely this conflict of interpretations that makes the Baghdad battery one of archaeology's greatest mysteries. It not only challenges the minds of researchers, but also fuels the public's imagination about the possibility of forgotten knowledge that once surpassed its time. And perhaps the fact that we have never found a definitive explanation is what makes this small ceramic jar so captivating, like a riddle that history has deliberately left unsolved. No ancient text describes the use of such jars. There are no drawings, inscriptions, or records mentioning electricity or electroplating. This leaves every theory speculative. Many skeptical scholars believe the Baghdad battery became famous not because of its true function, but because it fuels the modern imagination of lost technologies. Whether it was a battery or not, the Baghdad battery plays an important role in archaeological thought. It reminds us that we may not fully understand ancient knowledge. History is not always a steady progression. Sometimes breakthroughs appear early, then vanish into obscurity. If it really was an electrical device, might other technologies have existed and disappeared? If it was just an ordinary jar, why does its structure appear so peculiar? And most importantly, why after decades of study do we still lack a convincing explanation? The Baghdad battery stands as a vivid symbol of historical mystery. It raises questions not only about the technological abilities of the Parthians or Sassanids, but also about how we interpret the past. Are we uncovering truth or projecting modern knowledge onto ancient artifacts? Whatever the case, the mystery of the Baghdad battery's purpose remains unsolved. It might have been an electroplating device, a healing tool, a ritual prop, or simply a jar. And perhaps it is precisely this lack of a definitive answer that makes it so captivating, a doorway into imagination, curiosity, and wonder about what our ancestors once knew, once created, and what time has buried in silence. In 1901, while diving into the wreck of an ancient ship off the coast of Antikythera Island in Greece, treasure hunters hoped to find gold, silver, and precious bronze statues. Yet among the glittering relics, they brought up a corroded green lump of metal that seemed worthless. No one could have imagined that this ugly, seemingly useless object concealed a secret that would shake the entire archaeological world: the Antikythera mechanism, a 2,000-year-old astronomical computer proof of scientific knowledge far ahead of its time, and a mystery that continues to baffle researchers to this day. What do you think was the Antikythera mechanism? Truly the work of ancient Greek genius, or could it be a remnant of a lost civilization? Share your thoughts in the comments below. When scientists studied it, they gradually realized this was not a random fragment, but an extremely sophisticated mechanical system. The mechanism consisted of dozens of interlocking bronze gears cut with astonishing precision. After years of reconstruction and analysis using modern technologies like X-ray imaging and 3D scanning, experts concluded that this was in fact a mechanical computer capable of calculating and predicting astronomical phenomena such as the positions of the sun, the moon, planetary cycles, and even solar and lunar eclipses. What is astounding is that this mechanism was created around the 2nd century BC, more than 2,000 years ago. It was born during the era of ancient Greece, when, according to common belief, humans had only just begun recording basic astronomical observations, not yet possessing the techniques to transform them into such an advanced mechanical device. For this reason, the Antikythera mechanism is often hailed as the world's first analog computer, proof that the ancient Greeks possessed scientific and technical knowledge far beyond what we had imagined. The mechanical structure of the Antikythera mechanism is astonishingly complex for an artifact more than 2,000 years old. Inside it are over 30 bronze gears meticulously cut with precision down to just a few millimeters, a level of craftsmanship that even medieval engineers could not yet achieve. Each gear served a specific function, meshing perfectly to replicate the movements of celestial bodies. When the user turned a small side crank, the entire system moved in harmony, simulating the positions of the sun, the moon, and even the planets. Beyond that, the device could also predict solar and lunar eclipses and calculate important cycles such as the dates of the ancient Olympic Games. It was not merely a scientific instrument, but a sophisticated fusion of astronomical knowledge, religious belief, and Greek cultural life, reflecting the extraordinary intellectual achievements of a civilization far ahead of its time. But while its functions have gradually been decoded, one far greater and more mysterious question looms over the discovery: who created the Antikythera mechanism, and how? What makes the Antikythera mechanism such an elusive mystery lies not only in its astronomical functions, but in the way it challenges our entire understanding of traditional history. To build a device with dozens of precisely interlocking gears, the craftsman would have needed advanced bronze casting skills, the ability to cut gears with an extremely small margin of error, and a deep foundation in mathematics and astronomy to transform complex calculations into a smoothly operating mechanical model. Yet according to mainstream historical records, humanity in the 2nd century BC had not reached such a level of development. In fact, mechanisms with similar gear systems only reappeared in Europe during the Middle Ages, at least 1,000 years later. This discrepancy raises a troubling question. Have we underestimated the technological capabilities of the ancient Greeks, or was there another source of knowledge that has been lost in the shadows of history? Among the theories surrounding the origin of the Antikythera mechanism, the most prominent is its possible connection to the mathematical and engineering genius Archimedes, who lived in the 3rd century BC. Archimedes was renowned for a series of revolutionary inventions such as pulley systems, the water screw, and war machines used to defend the city of Syracuse. His extraordinary mechanical thinking and ability to transform mathematics into practical applications have led many scholars to believe that Archimedes, or at least his students, may have paved the way for the creation of the Antikythera mechanism. If this is true, the device could be considered a surviving legacy of a scientific tradition that stemmed directly from his brilliance. However, to this day, no archaeological evidence or written records have definitively confirmed this link, leaving the Archimedes hypothesis shrouded in mystery and debate. Another line of reasoning suggests that the Antikythera mechanism was not a singular invention, but rather the culmination of a mechanical tradition that once existed in the Greco-Roman world. It is possible that in the past, many similar devices were created and used, but due to historical upheavals, wars, or the decline of the empire, that entire technology vanished, leaving behind only the lone fragment we know today. If this theory is true, it would mean that humanity has lost an entire treasure trove of mechanical knowledge far ahead of its time. The greater question remains, how many inventions have been buried beneath the dust of history? And how much do we truly understand about ancient science? The disappearance of such technology is itself a great puzzle. If the Greeks were capable of creating an astronomical computer, why did Europe centuries later only manage to produce relatively simple mechanical clocks? Was it due to wars, the decline of the Greco-Roman world, or was this knowledge deliberately hidden and lost? One notable hypothesis suggests that technical manuscripts related to the Antikythera mechanism may have been destroyed in the tragedy of the Library of Alexandria, which once housed countless works of ancient science, mathematics, and astronomy. If this is true, then the device we see today is merely a small fragment left from a vast treasury of knowledge that has vanished forever. This possibility has led many scholars to wonder, were the secrets of advanced mechanical technology once fully recorded, only to be consumed by flames, leaving humanity with nothing but a silent witness known as the Antikythera mechanism? There are also theories of a more mysterious nature. Did the ancient Greeks inherit knowledge from an even older, now vanished civilization? This evokes legends of Atlantis, the mythical island said to have sunk beneath the waves, taking its advanced science with it. While such ideas remain speculative, they reflect the awe that modern humans feel when confronted with a legacy so far ahead of its time. Today, the Antikythera mechanism is preserved and displayed at the National Archaeological Museum in Athens as living proof of the extraordinary capabilities of the ancients. Scientists continue to study its fragments, hoping to fully reconstruct the device and understand its operation. Yet even if its functions are completely unraveled, the mystery of its origin and manufacturing techniques will remain a daunting question challenging established history. The Antikythera mechanism is more than just a machine. It is a haunting reminder that human history may contain forgotten chapters, knowledge far ahead of its time, concealed by the shadows of history due to some great catastrophe. Each time we gaze upon this 2,000-year-old astronomical device, we not only see the brilliance of the ancient Greeks, but also the unanswered questions: who truly created it? Where did they learn this knowledge? And how many more secrets of humanity still sleep beneath the deep seas? In human history, there is no shortage of monumental works that leave later generations in awe of the intelligence and creativity of the ancients. The pyramids of Egypt, Stonehenge in England, or the rock-cut city of Petra in Jordan are all clear evidence of the extraordinary abilities of ancient civilizations. Yet in Zhejiang province, China, there exists an underground complex less well known, but one that carries mysteries far beyond imagination: the Longyou caves. Discovered by accident in 1992, the system was originally thought to be a set of natural ponds in the village. Locals believed they had existed for centuries until some farmers decided to drain one to raise fish. What emerged was not a natural basin, but an enormous man-made structure hidden beneath. And not just one cave, but a network of more than 24 underground chambers, each immense in scale, reaching heights of nearly 30 meters, carved entirely by hand into hard sandstone. What do you think about this mystery? Could the Longyou caves be a technological marvel beyond their time, built by ancient people, using methods we still don't understand? Or might they be connected to a long-lost civilization from the distant past? Share your thoughts and theories in the comments below. Archaeologists estimate that to create the Longyou cave system, the ancients had to quarry and remove millions of cubic meters of stone. With only primitive iron tools of the time, such a task would have required hundreds of thousands of laborers working continuously for decades, if not centuries. Yet what puzzles experts is not only the massive volume of work, but also the precision and uniformity in every detail. Walls, ceilings, and stone pillars inside the caves are covered with parallel chisel marks carved in consistent directions. These striations cover every surface, from floor to ceiling, from hidden corners to the highest vaults. No surface was left unfinished, nor are there signs of abandonment as seen in ordinary quarrying sites. More astonishingly, the depth and spacing of the markings were maintained with striking uniformity, leading many to speculate that they resembled the product of some mechanical device rather than human hands 2,000 years ago. Even today, with modern laser measuring tools, many of the walls still show near-perfect flatness and parallelism, a feat difficult to explain, given the technology of the ancient world. If we assume that the ancients truly created the Longyou cave system, then the biggest question is not why, but rather how. The entire colossal structure requires construction techniques far beyond the common knowledge of ancient people. First, the issue of tools remains a major puzzle. To this day, archaeologists have not discovered any traces of instruments used in its construction. The Chinese, during the Warring States' Qin or Han periods, primarily had crude iron chisels, axes, and knives, hardly enough to imagine that they could quarry and carve millions of cubic meters of hard stone with such precision. Second, excavating deep into the mountain and creating chambers tens of meters wide while ensuring the entire structure remained stable without collapsing. For thousands of years, suggests they possessed complex knowledge of geology, gravity, and structural engineering, something even modern engineers would consider a challenge. Third, the entire cave surface is covered with uniform parallel striations, forming a systematic visual effect that seems to reflect a deliberately designed process rather than random labor. This has led many to theorize that these patterns might have carried symbolic or ritual meaning. Finally, the question of lighting adds another layer of mystery. In the pitch-black underground space, carrying out such precise work would have required a reliable source of light. Yet there are no traces of soot oil lamps or torch fire. This has sparked bold hypotheses that the builders might have used some form of unknown lighting technology. Taken together, these factors make the construction techniques of the Longyou caves one of the greatest unsolved enigmas, challenging both archaeologists and modern engineers alike. One of the most mysterious aspects of the Longyou caves is the absolute silence of Chinese historical records. The Qin and Han dynasties were renowned for their meticulous documentation. Every major and minor project, from the construction of the Great Wall to irrigation works, was carefully recorded in official histories. Yet, among thousands of surviving texts, there is not a single line mentioning the existence of this vast cave system. This complete absence has led many scholars to wonder, was it perhaps a top-secret project deliberately erased from historical memory, or could it belong to a much older prehistoric civilization that existed before the Chinese dynasties and has since disappeared? One of the most hotly debated aspects of the Longyou caves is their true function. To this day, no single theory has been widely accepted, as each explanation contains contradictions that are difficult to ignore. First, the idea that Longyou was simply a stone quarry is almost impossible. If the sole purpose was to obtain building material, the ancients would likely have chosen quicker and more efficient methods, rather than carving out gigantic chambers whose surfaces are meticulously decorated with uniform, artistic parallel striations. Second, The theory that the caves served as a residential space does not hold up either, since there are absolutely no signs of everyday life inside. No hearths, no tools, and no distinct divisions of space for communal living. Third, the possibility that they were tombs has also been dismissed, as no human remains, burial goods, or funerary architecture have been found, unlike what is usually discovered in ancient burial sites. For these reasons, some scholars propose that the caves may once have been secret ritual spaces constructed to serve religious purposes or to demonstrate the authority of an ancient ruling power. At the same time, more daring hypotheses suggest that Longyou might represent a form of architectural or technological experiment carried out by a vanished civilization, an attempt to test underground construction techniques, or perhaps to apply knowledge that remains completely unknown to us today. It is precisely the diversity and complexity of these theories that make the true function of the Longyou caves one of the great unsolved mysteries of archaeology. What amazes researchers the most is the extraordinary durability of the Longyou caves. For thousands of years, despite the passage of time and natural disasters, the chambers have remained intact, showing no signs of collapse or major deformation. Even flooding has never occurred, as the natural hydrological system seems to have been calculated and managed with remarkable precision, preventing groundwater from seeping inside. This long-lasting stability suggests that the ancients not only possessed immense physical labor power, but also held remarkably advanced technical knowledge to a degree that even modern engineers must admit remains a challenge to explain. Even after 3 decades since their discovery, scholars have no definitive answers. Who built them? By what means? For what purpose? What do the parallel striations mean? Are they evidence of advanced ancient engineering or simply a forgotten artistic style? The Longyou caves stand in silence, vast and imposing, as a challenge from the past to modern humanity. They force us to reconsider whether the history we know is truly complete, or if vast chapters of vanished civilizations still lie hidden beneath the surface of time. In conclusion, the Longyou caves are not just a massive underground architectural feat, but also living proof of a mysterious construction technique far beyond ordinary imagination. Their uniform carvings, immense scale, astonishing durability, and total absence from historical records make them one of the greatest archaeological enigmas of the modern world. Egypt has always been a land of wonders, from the pyramids of Giza to the eternal gaze of the Sphinx. But hidden beneath the bustling streets of Alexandria, the legendary crossroads of civilizations, lies a mystery few have ever heard of: the Hypogeum. Far from the blazing sun and golden temples of the Nile, this underground labyrinth of corridors, chambers, and carved stone halls was built during the Greco-Roman era. Yet its true purpose remains shrouded in darkness. Was it a tomb for the elite, a secret temple for forbidden rituals, or a vault guarding knowledge too dangerous to be revealed? If the pyramids speak of eternal kingship, then the Hypogeum whispers of hidden cults, forgotten ceremonies, and secrets still waiting to be uncovered. So what do you think? The Hypogeum of Alexandria was truly built for a tomb for the elite, a secret temple for forbidden rituals, or a hidden vault of knowledge kept away from the light? Share your thoughts in the comments below. One of the most striking features of the Hypogeum in Alexandria is its complex subterranean design. Archaeologists have uncovered spiral staircases descending deep into the earth, opening into a series of vast chambers carved directly into the limestone bedrock. Some rooms feature gracefully curved vaulted ceilings, which not only enhance aesthetics but also strengthen structural stability, while square and round pillars were erected to support the weight of the massive construction above. All of this demonstrates that the underground building techniques of the Greco-Roman era had reached an astonishing level of sophistication. Even more remarkable is the intelligent layout of the site. Natural light was skillfully channeled downward through narrow shafts reflecting off the stone walls to provide just enough illumination for the interior spaces. In addition, a discreetly designed ventilation system allowed air to circulate, preventing the chambers from feeling suffocating, despite their depth underground. Thanks to this harmonious combination of light airflow and space, the Hypogeum does not merely resemble a tomb, but rather evokes a solemn, ritual-like atmosphere seemingly calculated to host sacred ceremonies or religious practices far beyond the ordinary function of burial. Alexandria, the city founded by Alexander the Great, quickly rose to become one of the most vibrant centers of knowledge and trade in the ancient world. Here, Greek, Egyptian, and Roman communities coexisted, interacting and influencing one another, creating a cultural mosaic unlike anything seen before. The clearest imprint of this fusion can be found in the Hypogeum. On its walls and columns, one encounters the parallel presence of ancient Egyptian symbols such as the gods Osiris and Anubis, alongside Greco-Roman artistic features, robust Doric columns, finely crafted busts, and highly realistic reliefs. This combination was not forced, but harmoniously intertwined, making the Hypogeum appear both as a traditional Egyptian tomb and as a mysterious Greek temple. It reflects how religion in Alexandria was not limited to worship alone, but also became a process of experimentation, innovation, and hybridization between civilizations, turning the city into a cradle of unique religious concepts rarely replicated in human history. What makes the Hypogeum of Alexandria one of the greatest mysteries of Egyptian archaeology is its true function. If it were merely a tomb, why was its architecture so elaborate, with chambers designed specifically to produce resonant acoustics resembling a ritual space more than a burial ground? If its sole purpose was interment, then how can we explain the existence of endless corridors and empty chambers that bear no clear traces of coffins or grave goods? These details have given rise to numerous theories, each opening a new perspective on this enigmatic underground monument. Some scholars suggest that the Hypogeum once served as the resting place for powerful figures of the Greco-Roman elite in Alexandria, though over time, human remains and artifacts may have been lost or looted. Yet this hypothesis is difficult to sustain, as many rooms show no evidence of burial at all. Other research highlights the possibility that the Hypogeum was a secret temple dedicated to Serapis, a syncretic deity combining Osiris of Egypt with Zeus, Hades of Greece, and may have been the center of initiation rites offerings or invocations conducted by religious mystery cults. A bolder theory proposes that the Hypogeum was not meant for the dead, but for knowledge, a hidden vault safeguarding ancient texts, sacred relics, or even dangerous secrets not meant to be revealed. In a city famed for the great library of Alexandria, the very symbol of human knowledge, the existence of an underground repository to protect important documents from destruction would be entirely plausible. Particularly fascinating is the acoustic aspect. Certain chambers were designed to amplify resonance dramatically, making the human voice sound solemn and haunting, easily inducing participants into a trance-like state. This suggests the monument was not only a physical structure, but deliberately engineered as a kind of spiritual instrument, producing surreal experiences and connecting humans to the divine. All of these theories, despite their differences, point to one conclusion: the Hypogeum cannot be defined by a single purpose. It may have been a tomb, it may have taken the form of a temple, and at the same time, it may have been a space for mystical rites. Perhaps this ambiguity itself was intentional. The builders crafted the Hypogeum as a crossroads of faiths and functions, ensuring that even after thousands of years, it would retain the irresistible allure of an unsolved mystery. Today, the Hypogeum is a treasure trove for archaeologists and historians. Its carvings, reliefs, and architecture shed light on the cultural fusion of Greece, Egypt, and Rome. At the same time, the mystery of its true purpose reminds us that not all aspects of history are easy to explain. Some fragments of the past seem deliberately hidden in stone, leaving only scattered clues for future generations. The Hypogeum of Alexandria may not be as famous as the pyramids of Giza or the Temple of Karnak, but it stirs an equally powerful sense of wonder. In its dark corridors, one can imagine secret rituals, hidden prayers, or clandestine gatherings of ancient cults. Each theory is compelling, yet none has been definitively proven. Perhaps this ambiguity is its greatest value. It forces us to ask questions, to think, and to imagine. It reminds us that history is not only the inscriptions carved in stone, but also the silences, the concealed mysteries, and the untold stories. Alexandria, the city of knowledge, still keeps one of its riddles locked beneath the earth, and the Hypogeum stands as a vivid testament to that enduring enigma. Hidden within the rugged cliffs of Maharashtra, India, lies a place that defies imagination, the Ellora Caves. Here, entire mountains of basalt have been carved into temples' halls and sanctuaries, works so vast and precise that even today's engineers are left stunned. It is a site where three great religions, Buddhism, Hinduism, and Jainism, coexist in stone, and where the crown jewel, the Kailasa temple, rises not from assembled blocks, but from a single rock carved downward from the mountaintop itself. More than a sanctuary, Ellora is a puzzle written in stone, a riddle whose answers may have been lost to time. Do you believe the ancients carved Ellora caves with tools we know of, or did they possess advanced techniques now lost to history? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your theory. The complex includes 34 main caves, along with several auxiliary structures, all carved directly into basalt cliffs stretching over 2 kilometers. What makes Ellora unique is the coexistence of three major religions: Buddhism, Hinduism, and Jainism. From the 5th to the 10th century, across many dynasties, these monuments were created, forming a diverse yet harmonious picture, a rare testimony to religious coexistence in human history. Within the entire Ellora complex, nothing compares to the magnificence of Kailasa Temple Cave 16, a monument regarded as the ultimate masterpiece of ancient rock-cut architecture. This is not a temple built from separate stone blocks, but rather one that was carved directly out of a single massive basalt cliff, following a rare method starting from the mountaintop and working downward. This reverse construction astonishes modern scholars as it required extraordinary precision. One wrong strike could have ruined the entire structure. The result is a monument about 30 meters high, nearly 60 meters long, and more than 30 meters wide, with dozens of stone pillars, shrines, corridors, divine statues, and reliefs, all seamlessly integrated into one solid rock. This unity not only demonstrates exceptional technical prowess, but also reflects the bold vision of those who created a temple both monumental and exquisitely refined to a degree almost beyond belief. Researchers estimate that in order to create the Kailasa temple, the ancients had to remove more than 200,000 tons of basalt rock, an immense quantity almost beyond comprehension. What is truly astonishing is that this entire process was carried out using only rudimentary tools such as iron hammers, chisels, and stone axes, with no aid from machinery or modern technology. How then could they excavate and transport such a massive volume of rock while still ensuring that the colossal structure remained perfectly balanced and adorned with the finest details? A single mistake could have destroyed the entire monument, yet that never happened. It is precisely this sense of impossibility that has turned Kailasa into an enduring enigma, one that continues to challenge every scientific explanation to this day. The reliefs at Ellora are not only beautiful, but also demonstrate extraordinary refinement. Scenes from the epics Ramayana and Mahabharata, the image of Shiva performing the cosmic dance Nataraja, and depictions of religious life were all vividly portrayed. The detail in the lines, the balance in composition, and the grandeur of the whole have led many to believe that Ellora was not merely a religious monument, but also carried loftier purposes. And here lies Ellora's greatest enigma: how, by what means, and for what purpose did the ancients construct a temple like Kailasa? One of the most common theories suggests that the Kailasa temple was completed within 18 years through the mobilization of thousands of artisans. At first glance, this may seem plausible, but when researchers performed detailed calculations, the results were staggering. To meet that timeline, workers would have had to remove over 5 tons of rock every single day. This raises a series of difficult questions. How could such a massive volume of stone have been managed using only primitive tools like hammers, chisels, and iron picks? How could the debris have been cleared and transported so quickly? And most importantly, how could they maintain absolute precision to avoid ruining the entire monument with such speed and scale? Many scholars argue that perhaps we have underestimated the organizational skills, labor management, and technological capabilities of ancient India. Another theory suggests that Kailasa was not just a religious temple, but also a symbol of political power. For a king to mobilize such immense manpower to create such a marvel was proof of supreme authority and prestige. It may also have served as a message to rival dynasties that divine protection, especially from Shiva, was on their side. Some scholars of the mystical school argue that the top-down excavation technique of the Kailasa temple, with its astonishing precision, could hardly have been achieved using only simple hammers and chisels. They suggest that the ancients may have once possessed special tools or a form of technology that has since been lost over thousands of years. It might have been an advanced stone-cutting method or some mechanism to aid excavation that remains unknown to us. Some even believe this knowledge was guarded within an elite class of master artisans passed down orally through generations before gradually disappearing with time. Moreover, the question of Ellora's true purpose remains unanswered. Of course, religiously, it was a place of worship, pilgrimage, and spiritual practice. But why build it in such an arduous and seemingly impractical way? Why not construct a conventional temple that would be easier and faster? Could it be that the ancients wanted to create a monument that would endure through time, conveying a message to future generations? Or did they have another purpose beyond religion, perhaps to symbolize cosmic knowledge, astronomical concepts, or even mark a civilizational milestone? These mysteries deepen when comparing Ellora with other monuments of the same era. Few sites from the 8th and 9th century achieve such technical and artistic sophistication. This raises the suspicion: did Kailasa Temple and Ellora inherit an even older building tradition, a lost secret that once existed but later vanished? Today, the Ellora Caves are recognized by UNESCO as a World Heritage Site, becoming an unmissable destination for travelers and scholars alike. Yet standing before Kailasa, many still feel the same awe, admiration, and above all, puzzlement. How could the ancients, with just hammer and chisel, create a monument that modern engineers must still carefully study, and why, after thousands of years, has its secret remained hidden with no detailed records left behind. Perhaps it is precisely the mystery of the techniques and purpose that makes Ellora immortal. It is not just a stone temple or a religious site, but an eternal riddle, compelling us to continue exploring, questioning, and reflecting. And like many other ancient wonders, Ellora reminds us that the past may still hold untold knowledge, and human civilization may be far more complex than we have ever imagined. Beneath the quiet streets of Paola Malta lies a labyrinth carved into stone more than 5,000 years ago. Known as the Hypogeum of Hal Saflieni, this underground world was not built for the living, yet it still whispers to us from the darkness. Constructed between 3600 and 3000 BC, older than the pyramids of Egypt, and contemporary with Stonehenge, it is the only subterranean temple of its kind anywhere in the world. But what truly grips the imagination is not just its age, nor its astonishing architecture, but the unanswered question that echoes through its chambers. Why was it built, and what secret purpose did it serve? What do you think the Hypogeum of Hal Saflieni was built for? A massive necropolis, a temple devoted to a goddess, or some other mysterious ritual center? Share your thoughts in the comments below. When the Hypogeum of Hal Saflieni was uncovered in the late 19th century, it immediately shocked the archaeological world with its vast scale and extraordinary uniqueness. This was not a simple burial chamber, but a multi-level underground structure carved directly into hard limestone, featuring ritual rooms, winding corridors, and walls adorned with mysterious red ochre patterns. Excavations revealed the remains of more than 7,000 individuals spanning many generations, indicating that this site once served as a massive funerary center. Alongside the bones, archaeologists discovered numerous valuable artifacts, such as stone tools, bone objects, and most famously, the small figurine known as the Sleeping Lady, depicting a reclining woman believed to symbolize faith in rebirth and the eternal cycle of life. These discoveries strongly suggest that the Hypogeum functioned as a giant collective necropolis for centuries. However, if it was only a cemetery, why would the ancient Maltese expend such enormous effort to create a structure of such complexity? Stairs, corridors, circular chambers, carefully carved domes, and a clear division of levels, the upper level for simple burials, the middle with elaborate chambers, and the deepest apparently reserved for mysterious rites. All this suggests that the Hypogeum was not merely a burial site, but perhaps held a religious, spiritual, or ceremonial role that we still cannot fully grasp today. Within the intricate structure of the Hypogeum, the most striking and enigmatic space is the oracle room. This is not merely a small chamber carved into stone, but a place with acoustic properties so extraordinary they are hard to believe. When a person speaks in a deep voice from the exact central spot, the sound does not simply echo, but resonates powerfully throughout the entire network of corridors and chambers, creating deep vibrations that make listeners feel their heartbeat and breathing shift in response. Modern studies have confirmed that the chamber resonates at around 110 Hz, a frequency that strongly influences the human brain, often inducing trance-like states, altered consciousness, or intense sensory experiences. This leads to an unavoidable question. Was this effect a coincidence born of simple stone carving, or did the ancient Maltese deliberately design it to serve religious rituals and spiritual experiences beyond ordinary perception? If the Hypogeum is seen as an underground temple, then its function may have gone far beyond that of a cemetery. Many scholars suggest it could have been a center for goddess worship, with the Sleeping Lady figurine pointing to fertility cults and beliefs in rebirth. In many ancient cultures, death was not viewed as an end, but as a return to Mother Earth, awaiting rebirth. The hypogeum, with its design resembling a vast underground womb, may have symbolized this return. Those buried here were not merely the dead, but souls awaiting renewal in the eternal cycle of nature. Another hypothesis stresses that the hypogeum could have served as a center for esoteric rites or spiritual practices. The resonant acoustics of the oracle room might have been used in chanting or ritual incantations, pushing participants into altered states of consciousness. Such ceremonies may have aimed to connect humans with the divine, or to produce transcendent experiences that strengthened belief in the supernatural. Some scholars even compare the hypogeum with monuments like Stonehenge or the Egyptian pyramids, structures blending architecture, astronomy, and religion, and ask, could the hypogeum have been a kind of tool to open a spiritual gateway between humans and the cosmos? One of the aspects that makes the Hypogeum of Hal Saflieni truly magnificent is the evidence of knowledge far ahead of its era. On its walls appear spiraling red ochre motifs, seemingly decorative, yet many researchers believe they may represent the cosmos, the cycle of life and death, or the wheel of rebirth. Even more astonishing is that in this period, the Maltese people had no iron tools, and yet they managed to carve tens of meters deep into hard limestone, creating a complete three-level system of chambers, corridors, stairways, and domed ceilings. The precision of this construction, combined with the sophisticated acoustic design of the oracle room, has led archaeologists to ask, are we underestimating the creativity and technological development of Stone Age humans? The mystery of the hypogeum's function deepens when compared with other monuments of the same era. While many civilizations built temples and tombs above ground to assert power and connect with the gods of the heavens, the Maltese chose to hide their sacred site underground. Why? Perhaps they believed that the sacred resided in the earth, in darkness, silence, and origins. Or perhaps theirs was a unique belief system that saw the underworld as the gateway to the afterlife. Interestingly, the hypogeum was not abandoned by accident. Archaeological evidence suggests it was used for centuries, perhaps only abandoned when Malta's prehistoric civilization collapsed. During its long use, the hypogeum likely hosted countless rituals, funerals, prayers, and mysteries we can scarcely imagine today. Now, only the silent chambers, the stone walls, and the echoes of a lost culture remain. The existence of the hypogeum stands as a testament to the imagination and spiritual longing of prehistoric humanity. It shows that very early on, humans sought not only shelter, but also created sacred spaces to connect with the unseen. Yet it also remains an unsolved mystery because we cannot know for certain how it was truly used. A collective necropolis, a goddess temple, a ritual center, or even a spiritual tool to alter human consciousness. All are still only hypotheses. And perhaps it is this very ambiguity that makes the hypogeum so compelling. It forces us to question, to imagine, and to accept that science does not always provide a final answer. In the silent darkness of Malta's stone chambers, where echoes linger like whispers from the past, the hypogeum continues to guard its secrets. As if challenging humanity, do we truly understand our own origins? Beneath the windswept plains of Cappadocia, Turkey, there lies a secret world hidden in the darkness of stone. It is not a cave, not a mere shelter, but an entire city buried underground, a labyrinth stretching down nearly 85 meters with 18 levels carved into the earth. Known today as Derinkuyu, this colossal subterranean metropolis could house tens of thousands of people, their animals, food supplies, and even places of worship. More than just an engineering marvel, Derinkuyu stands as one of history's most haunting enigmas. Why would an ancient civilization choose to vanish beneath the ground? In your opinion, why did ancient people choose to live deep underground instead of on the surface? Share your thoughts in the comments below. As archaeologists delved deeper into the underground city of Derinkuyu, they uncovered an infrastructure system far beyond imagination: residential quarters arranged next to kitchens, vast food storage chambers, churches for worship, schools for children, and even wine cellars carved directly into the rock. The entire space was meticulously designed to meet every need of a large community. Notably, more than 50 ventilation shafts and water wells were distributed throughout, ensuring a steady supply of air and water for thousands of inhabitants underground. Movement through the city was controlled by massive circular stone doors, each weighing several tons, which could be rolled into place to seal passageways in an instant. This demonstrates that the ancient inhabitants not only cared about daily life, but also built a formidable defensive system, always prepared to face dangers lurking beyond their subterranean refuge. Yet the greatest question, and the very thing that makes Derinkuyu so enigmatic, is why would an ancient community invest such immense effort into building a city dozens of meters beneath the ground? One of the most widely accepted theories suggests that Derinkuyu was built as a safe refuge during times of war and religious conflict. Ancient Turkey was a crossroads of great empires where conquests and shifts of power occurred constantly. In such a setting, an underground city capable of hiding tens of thousands of people, along with their livestock and food supplies, would have been the ultimate survival strategy. A striking feature is the narrow, winding tunnels that allowed only one person to pass at a time, making it extremely difficult for enemies to advance quickly or move in large formations. In addition, the massive circular stone doors that could be rolled into place to completely block passageways clearly demonstrate an intentional defensive design to prevent intruders. The combination of complex architecture-controlled passageways and carefully organized living spaces transformed Derinkuyu into a formidable underground fortress where its inhabitants could remain hidden from hostile eyes for extended periods of time. Beyond war, many scholars also suggest that Derinkuyu was built to withstand the brutal forces of nature. Cappadocia is a land of extremely harsh climate, scorching arid summers, freezing, unforgiving winters, and strong winds sweeping across the region year-round. In such conditions, living underground became a clever solution, naturally regulating temperature, cool during summer and warm in winter. The system of deep wells and more than 50 ventilation shafts spread throughout not only ensured survival, but also allowed thousands of residents to endure for months, even years, without ever leaving their refuge. The discovery of vast food storage chambers, wine cellars, and areas for keeping livestock further reinforces the theory that the ancients were prepared to adapt to long periods when the surface was uninhabitable. If this is true, Derinkuyu was not merely an underground city, but a protective umbrella shielding its people from the unpredictable fury of nature. One of the most controversial theories suggests that Derinkuyu was built to confront threats descending from the sky. Many folklorists connect this underground city with ancient legends of disasters from above, which might have been devastating hailstorms, volcanic eruptions that filled the skies with ash, or even meteor impacts. In such scenarios, digging deep into the earth would have been the only way to preserve life and escape nature's destruction. Some scholars go even further, proposing a bold hypothesis that Derinkuyu may once have served as an emergency refuge for a global cataclysm in the distant past, a calamity so immense that it forced entire communities to abandon the surface and seek safety in the darkness beneath the ground. What makes this theory more compelling is that Derinkuyu was not isolated. Hidden tunnels appear to connect it to other underground cities in Cappadocia, forming a vast subterranean network. If the sole purpose was to evade raiders or persecution, why would such a large-scale system be necessary? This suggests the ancients were preparing for a prolonged and severe threat, serious enough to force entire communities to live underground for months, even years. In addition, the presence of underground religious structures, such as churches and prayer rooms, indicates that spiritual life was equally important. Some historians argue that descending underground was not only about survival, but also had a ritualistic and spiritual dimension. The ancients may have viewed the underground as sacred, a place closer to the divine and separated from the chaos of the surface world. Nevertheless, all these theories remain speculative. To this day, archaeologists have not uncovered inscriptions, texts, or direct evidence explaining Derinkuyu's original purpose. This silence has transformed the underground city into an endless mystery. It may have been a refuge, a permanent settlement, a religious center, or even an emergency city built to respond to a catastrophic scenario beyond our imagination. One of the greatest mysteries of Derinkuyu lies in the question, who were the first people to begin carving dozens of meters into the earth to create such a massive structure? Some studies suggest that the Phrygians around the 8th century BCE laid the foundations, which were later expanded and modified by Byzantine communities. However, many other scholars disagree, arguing that the technical traces and sheer scale of the construction may date back to a much more ancient period, perhaps even before recorded history. If this hypothesis is correct, Derinkuyu would not merely be a product of ancient engineering, but possibly the surviving legacy of a vanished civilization, leaving its true origins forever shrouded in mystery. Today, as visitors and archaeologists descend into Derinkuyu's dim corridors, they are overwhelmed by a sense of awe. Narrow passages, faint light, and heavy stone doors remain in place, as if still waiting for an invasion that never comes. Each room and passageway whispers of a purpose never fully revealed. Perhaps this is why Derinkuyu has become a symbol of the unresolved mysteries of history. It compels us not only to question the technical abilities of our ancestors, but also their fears, their beliefs, and their wisdom. Did they know of dangers we have forgotten? Were they preparing for a catastrophe unrecorded in history? To this day, these questions remain unanswered. Derinkuyu endures silent beneath Cappadocia, as a reminder that human history is far from simple. And sometimes it is precisely the mysteries without solutions that ignite our deepest desire to uncover the past. In 1936, in the quiet land near the town of London, Texas, USA, a family on a picnic unexpectedly discovered a strange object encased in a block of sedimentary rock by the riverbank. When they broke open the rock, they saw a metallic part protruding, shaped like the head of a hammer. Curiosity drove them to chip away more of the rock, and the result was truly shocking: a complete hammer with a wooden handle and a solid iron head, almost entirely encased in sandstone. This artifact was later given many names, the most famous being the London Hammer or the London Artifact. What stirred both scientists and the public was not only the existence of a hammer inside ancient stone, but the disturbing paradox: the rock encasing the hammer dates back over 100 million years to the Cretaceous period, the age when dinosaurs still roamed the earth. How could a tool that seems only a few hundred years old possibly appear in stone layers formed tens of millions of years ago? This question turned the London Hammer into one of the most famous UParts out-of-place artifacts that appear to challenge our entire understanding of human history. So, what do you think? Is the London Hammer evidence of a lost prehistoric civilization, or simply a modern tool that happened to be encased in stone? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your opinions. To the naked eye, the London Hammer looks extremely familiar. A partly fossilized wooden handle and a long, narrow iron head with a simple yet effective design, almost identical to hammers used for metal forging or driving nails during the early industrial era. There is nothing primitive about it, no resemblance to stone axes or Bronze Age tools. Instead, it carries an almost impossibly modern look, as if it had been manufactured only 200 years ago, not millions. The most controversial aspect of the London Hammer lies in the sandstone that encases it. Geologists estimate that this rock was formed during the Cretaceous period around 100–115 million years ago, a time when dinosaurs still dominated the Earth. Normally, for an object to be locked tightly inside stone, it must have existed at the same time the rock itself was forming. If that dating is accurate, the hammer could not possibly be a product of modern humans. This paradox has given rise to conflicting theories. Some argue that it is evidence of an advanced prehistoric civilization capable of forging metal tools tens of millions of years ago. In contrast, mainstream scientists suggest that the surrounding stone may not truly be the same age as the entire geological layer, but rather a mineral deposit that formed rapidly under unusual conditions, sealing the hammer as if in a natural cocoon. Either way, the London Hammer continues to raise a provocative question. Could we be missing an entire chapter of history that has never been recorded? While the modern appearance and the surrounding stone could be debated as results of natural mineralization, what truly makes the London Hammer an enigma is the metal composition of its head. When researchers analyzed it, the results were so astonishing that they shocked the scientific community. The hammerhead, weighing about 400 grams, was found to contain 96.6% pure iron, along with 2.6% chlorine and 0.74% sulfur, yet it contained absolutely no carbon. This is highly unusual because in modern metallurgy, carbon plays a crucial role in producing steel and cast iron, enhancing hardness, strength, and durability. Without carbon, iron is normally soft and prone to deformation under force. Yet this hammerhead has preserved its original shape perfectly over a vast stretch of time, even while locked inside ancient rock. The presence of chlorine in the alloy makes the puzzle even deeper. According to materials science, chlorine usually causes iron and iron alloys to corrode rapidly. And yet the opposite has happened here. The London Hammer's head is almost entirely free from rust, even after decades in humid conditions following its discovery. Some bold theories suggest this could be the product of a lost metallurgical technique, one capable of producing antioxidant properties far beyond what modern technology has achieved. If true, it would mean that humans, or perhaps some unknown civilization in the distant past, possessed advanced metallurgical knowledge unrecognized by mainstream history. Of course, there are also opinions claiming that this unusual alloy could have been formed by a unique geochemical process. However, this explanation has not provided a convincing mechanism, since the creation of iron that is nearly absolutely pure is extremely difficult to achieve naturally. This is precisely why many scholars and enthusiasts of mysterious archaeology consider the London Hammer not merely an out-of-place artifact, but rather evidence of a technological enigma yet to be solved. Thus, the detail of its unusual metal composition does more than make the London Hammer unique. It raises a series of profound questions. Who created it? What technology could forge such an alloy? And more importantly, are we underestimating the true technological achievements of civilizations long lost to history? The origin of the London hammer remains a fiercely debated subject among scholars. Mainstream scientists often give a straightforward explanation. The hammer may simply be a 19th century tool once used by settlers or miners in Texas that accidentally fell into a rock crevice. Over time, minerals from groundwater seeped in, crystallized, and encased the hammer, forming a hardened stone shell resembling fossilization. They emphasize that the age of the rock does not necessarily reflect the age of the object inside, since mineralization can occur relatively quickly over decades or centuries rather than the millions of years suggested by geological dating. In contrast, supporters of the advanced prehistoric civilization theory argue that this explanation is far too forced. They see the London hammer as evidence that there once existed a society with superior metallurgical skills, clearly demonstrated by the nearly pure and corrosion-resistant iron alloy of the hammerhead. To them, this cannot be the product of a few centuries past, but rather the remnant of a lost civilization, perhaps existing alongside or even before the recorded history of humankind. It is precisely this clash between two opposing viewpoints that has made the London hammer one of the most famous archaeological enigmas, raising the profound question: have we truly understood the flow of history, or are there still entire chapters left untold? Today, the London hammer is kept at the Creation Evidence Museum in Glen Rose, Texas, and it frequently appears in debates about parts. Though no definitive conclusion has been reached, it remains one of the most intriguing artifacts, prompting us to ask, is the history we know just a fragment, with many chapters still hidden away? The London hammer is not just a tool trapped in stone. It is a symbol of unanswered questions. Could advanced civilizations have existed millions of years ago? Is modern humanity truly the first pinnacle of technological progress? And most importantly, does the unusual metal composition of its hammerhead, with ultra-pure iron and near-immortal anti-corrosion properties, point to a forgotten technology? To this day, the London hammer lies in that shadowy space between skepticism from mainstream science and the belief that history hides far more secrets than we realize. And it is precisely this tension that makes it one of the most captivating archaeological enigmas of the 20th century. Hidden deep within the Hathor temple at Dendera lies a carving unlike anything else in ancient Egypt. At first glance, it seems almost impossible. A massive object carved into stone that looks astonishingly similar to a modern electric light bulb. How could a civilization, more than 2,000 years ago, with no known access to electricity, have created an image so eerily close to one of humanity's most revolutionary inventions? Was it a mere coincidence of mythological symbolism, or could it be a glimpse of forgotten knowledge, a piece of technology lost to time? This enigmatic carving, now called the Dendera light, continues to ignite fierce debates because its shape, sleek, elongated, and detailed, seems far too modern, far too specific to simply dismiss as imagination. What do you think? Do you believe the Dendera light was just a symbolic myth, or could it be evidence of a lost ancient technology? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If we carefully observe the relief in the Osiris chamber of the Hathor temple, we notice a strange carving, an elongated object slightly swollen at one end and narrowing at the other, with a wavy line running inside from one end to the other. The entire structure immediately reminds many people of the shape of a classic glass light bulb and even resembles a Crookes tube, an electrical device that only appeared in Europe in the 19th century. Most striking is that the wavy line inside looks almost identical to a glowing filament, and this detail is supported by a solid column at the base. This combination creates an overall design that seems too coherent to ignore an elongated shell resembling glass, a filament-like element at the center, and a socket or power source at the end. Placed in a modern context, the image looks like a primitive yet remarkably accurate drawing of an electric bulb, complete with filament glass shell and a base connected to a source of energy. Such precision and detail lead us to wonder, is this merely a coincidental overlap of mythology, or could it be a trace of some technological knowledge long lost to time? What makes people even more astonished is the overall combination of elements. At the end of the bulb, there is a rectangular object, which many suggest might represent a power source resembling a generator or a giant battery. Meanwhile, the figures depicted around it seem to be holding or adjusting this light as if they were manipulating a real device, not simply admiring a religious emblem. These specific details are why the Egyptian light bulb hypothesis has fascinated and even haunted researchers of lost technology. What is striking is that the image of the Dendera light does not appear just once, but is repeated several times within the same area of the Hathor temple, with slight variations. This repetition suggests it was not a random detail or decorative whim, but rather a deliberate symbol or idea that was emphasized. The fact that these carvings are located in dark enclosed chambers with virtually no natural light further fuels the hypothesis that the Egyptians may have known of a special method of illumination, far more effective than torches or traditional oil lamps. It is precisely this factor that makes the mystery all the more fascinating and difficult to explain. One of the most debated questions surrounding ancient Egyptian monuments is the issue of lighting inside tombs and temples. The intricately carved walls and vividly colored paintings, filled with incredibly fine details, are often found deep within long corridors and chambers that had no windows at all. This raises a major challenge. How could craftsmen see clearly enough to work without leaving behind traces of smoke or artificial light? Some theories suggest they used mirrors to reflect sunlight from outside, but the brightness would quickly diminish after several reflections, making it nearly impossible for complex work that could last weeks or months. If they relied on oil lamps, the ceilings and walls should have been coated with layers of soot. Yet archaeology shows that many of these sites contain little to no such residue. This contradiction makes the Dendera light carving especially intriguing. It seems to fit almost perfectly with the hypothesis that the ancient Egyptians once possessed a superior method of illumination, a form of technological knowledge long lost to time. From the perspective of mainstream Egyptology, the carving at Dendera does not depict an electric light bulb, as many modern theories suggest, but rather falls entirely within the framework of religious mythology. They argue that the elongated shape with the inner curve is in fact the image of a giant lotus bud from which the serpent god Harsomptus emerges, a symbol of rebirth and the cosmic power of the universe. The wavy line inside is not a filament, but the serpent's body itself, while the detail resembling a socket at the base is explained as the Jed pillar, one of the most sacred symbols representing stability and eternal order. From this viewpoint, the entire relief is a combination of familiar mythological motifs, ritualistic and religious in nature, with no connection to technology or engineering. For them, the resemblance between this image and a modern light bulb is nothing more than coincidence, and all theories about ancient electrical technology are simply products of imagination. Yet this coincidence is strikingly hard to ignore. Ancient peoples could invent symbolic imagery, but it is rare for them to accidentally produce a design nearly identical to a modern technology they supposedly could not know. From the glass-like elongated body to the filament-like line to the wire and socket, the whole structure is not only aesthetically convincing but mechanically plausible. This is why, despite academic rejection, the carving is often cited as potential evidence of advanced knowledge in lost civilizations. Another fascinating detail emerges when comparing this carving to 19th century devices, especially the Crookes tube and early arc lamps. The Crookes tube, a sealed glass container with electrodes inside, glows when connected to power. Its structure is strikingly similar to the Dendera carving, so much so that many suggest if an ancient Egyptian walked into a 19th century European lab, they would immediately recognize something familiar. This is why many fringe researchers readily call the Dendera light the Egyptian light bulb. Whichever theory is correct, it is undeniable that the bulb-like shape is the key reason why the Dendera light remains one of the most captivating enigmas of Egyptian archaeology. It raises profound questions. Did ancient people once grasp scientific principles we believe were only discovered recently? Could there exist lost knowledge buried by time of which we now catch only faint glimpses through mysterious carvings? This ambiguity, half myth, half technology, has turned the Dendera light into a modern legend, both a testament to human imagination and a reminder that what we know about the past may be only the tip of the iceberg. Whether it is truly a lotus and serpent symbol or genuine evidence of ancient illumination, its existence continues to provoke debate and inspire wonder. And perhaps it is precisely its electric bulb-like shape, too modern to ignore, that makes the Dendera light one of the greatest mysteries of ancient Egypt. Amid the sands and tombs of ancient Egypt lies an object so small it could fit in your hand, yet so mysterious it continues to puzzle scientists and historians alike. This is the Saqqara bird, a 2,200-year-old wooden figure discovered in the necropolis of Saqqara. At first glance, it might look like a simple carving, no more than a child's toy or a ritual symbol. But upon closer inspection, its form is eerily familiar. A streamlined body, straight wings, and an upright tail fin, features that bear an uncanny resemblance to a modern airplane. Measuring just 18 centimeters across and weighing less than 40 grams, this tiny artifact raises a question both thrilling and unsettling. Did the ancient Egyptians millennia before the age of flight already dream or even experiment with the skies? And now, I have a question for you. Do you think the Saqqara bird was merely a ceremonial symbol shaped like a bird? Or could it truly be evidence that the ancient Egyptians understood the principles of flight? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your perspective. What makes the Saqqara bird one of the most controversial artifacts is its extraordinary shape. At first glance, many were astonished because this wooden model carries features that seem far too familiar to the modern world. It looks almost like a miniature airplane rather than a stylized bird crafted in the typical Egyptian artistic fashion. The body of the Saqqara bird is slender, symmetrical, and neatly carved, lacking a distinct head, as seen in traditional bird figures, which immediately brings to mind the fuselage of an aircraft. Its wings are attached horizontally at the center of the body, straight, evenly thick, and flat, very different from natural bird wings, which are usually curved to generate lift. Yet the most striking detail lies in its upright vertical tail fin, a feature that almost no bird in nature possesses, but one that is essential in aircraft design for stability. At the same time, the Saqqara bird is completely missing a horizontal stabilizer, a critical component in modern aviation. Yet this absence oddly makes it resemble early glider prototypes from the 19th century. This strange combination of elements raises an unsettling question. Was this merely a ritual bird model, or could it in fact be an ancient prototype for humanity's dream of flight conceived thousands of years before it became reality? This airplane-like appearance has sparked numerous hypotheses. Some aeronautical engineers, when reconstructing the Saqqara bird with modern materials, found that it could glide through the air like a glider if thrown with sufficient force. These results led many to wonder, did the ancient Egyptians truly understand the principles of flight? And could the Saqqara bird be evidence of a lost technology? However, the story does not end there. Looking deeper, the Saqqara bird carries elements that are both contradictory and intriguing. Traditional archaeologists argue that it is simply a bird model used in religious rituals. In Egyptian belief, birds symbolized the soul's journey to the afterlife, especially the falcon, the emblem of the god Horus. From this perspective, the Saqqara bird was nothing more than a sacred symbol of ascension. Yet, if it was purely symbolic, why would ancient craftsmen design it with such symmetry, elongated proportions, and aerodynamic qualities so different from conventional Egyptian art? This remains an unanswered question. When studied closely by modern scientists, the Saqqara bird revealed unusual features that are difficult to dismiss as mere coincidence. Its wings were carved thick, straight, and completely flat, rather than curved like those of natural birds, which typically aid in generating lift. This flatness immediately caught the attention of aeronautical experts, as it resembled the structure of primitive glider wings. The upright vertical tail fin further reinforced the comparison to modern aircraft, where this component plays a crucial role in stabilizing direction during flight. More intriguingly, when engineers tested replicas of the Saqqara bird in wind tunnels, they found that with the simple addition of a horizontal stabilizer, the object could achieve stable flight, similar to that of a small model airplane. This led to a bold hypothesis: the Saqqara bird may not be a complete artifact, but rather a surviving fragment of a larger aeronautical concept, perhaps even evidence that the ancient Egyptians once experimented with the principles of flight. Not everyone accepts the ancient airplane theory about the Saqqara bird. Some conservative scholars argue that comparing this wooden model to a modern aircraft is merely a projection of 20th century thinking onto the past. In their view, the Egyptians simply carved a stylized bird, and it is we, so accustomed to airplanes, who unintentionally see the resemblance. Yet details such as the slender, symmetrical body, the straight horizontal wings, and the upright tail fin make it difficult for many to dismiss alternative interpretations. This coincidence poses a paradox. Is it nothing more than artistic chance? Or could it be faint evidence of knowledge that was far ahead of its time? Beyond scientific debates, the Saqqara bird has inspired more mystical theories. Some fringe researchers claim it is evidence of extraterrestrial technology handed down to ancient Egyptians. Others boldly suggest it was a miniature prototype of a solar-powered flying craft that was built but later lost. Although lacking solid proof, such claims continue to fuel the public imagination, making this small artifact a central subject of books, documentaries, and TV shows about lost technologies. Today, the Saqqara bird is displayed at the Cairo Museum, where thousands of visitors pause each year to observe it. Many stand silently contemplating this small wooden object and asking themselves, could the Egyptians renowned for their pyramids, the Sphinx, and astronomical knowledge have also possessed technological secrets unknown to us? Or was it merely coincidence, a bird model that happened to resemble an airplane? Regardless of the answer, the Saqqara bird demonstrates one thing. Sometimes small artifacts raise bigger questions than monumental structures. It forces us to reflect on the boundary between symbolism and technology, between art and science, between religious belief and the human drive to explore. Its airplane-like form presents a fascinating paradox, a 2,200-year-old wooden object that resembles 20th century technology. Perhaps the greatest allure of the Saqqara bird does not lie in definitive answers, but in its unresolved ambiguity. If it was merely a bird model, why such aerodynamic precision? If it was a plane prototype, why did the Egyptians stop at one design instead of advancing further? This very contradiction makes the Saqqara bird one of the most mysterious artifacts in the history of archaeology, leaving us with an important lesson. Never underestimate the seemingly small and ordinary, for within them may lie secrets capable of reshaping our understanding of an entire civilization. Across the vast timeline of human civilization, some creations seem to defy nature itself. Imagine a towering column of solid iron, standing unprotected under the burning sun, torrential rains, and humid winds of India for over 16 centuries, yet refusing to rust. This is no myth. It is the Iron Pillar of Delhi, an ancient monument that continues to baffle scientists and ignite wonder. How could metal forged more than 1,600 years ago resist decay better than most modern steel? Was it a lost technology, a stroke of genius, or a mystery still waiting to be solved? What do you think? Was the Iron Pillar's rust-proof nature the result of advanced ancient technology, pure coincidence, or something else entirely? Share your thoughts in the comments below. The Delhi Iron Pillar stands over 7 meters tall and weighs about 6 tons. Built under the Gupta dynasty, often linked with King Chandragupta II, Vikramaditya, the pillar is not only a massive metal structure, but also a work of art and religion. Inscriptions in ancient Brahmi script on its surface praise the achievements and greatness of the king. Originally erected in Udayagiri, it was later moved to Delhi around the 11th century. Since then, it has remained as a historical witness, seeing countless rises and falls of dynasties, yet standing firm and unchanging. What astonishes scientists is not only the Iron Pillar's age of more than 1,600 years, but also its immense size and weight. Standing over 7 meters tall and weighing nearly 6 tons, creating such a massive block of solid iron within the technological limits of the 4th–5th century was almost unthinkable. The blacksmiths of the Gupta period employed the technique of forge welding, heating, and fusing hundreds of smaller iron pieces into a single, homogeneous mass, leaving no visible cracks or seams. To reach this level of craftsmanship, they had to control temperature, precisely ensure the purity of the ore, and coordinate the efforts of many skilled smiths during the forging process. Remarkably, at that time, metallurgy in much of the world was still limited to producing small tools or rudimentary weapons, while India succeeded in creating a colossal iron column that has endured for millennia. For this reason, the Delhi Iron Pillar is not merely a material structure, but a living testament to the genius and advanced skills of the Gupta civilization. The most remarkable and controversial feature of the pillar is its extraordinary resistance to rust. Normally, iron exposed to humid air rain, or especially the tropical climate of India, quickly oxidizes, forming reddish-brown rust. Yet the Delhi pillar has stood tall for 16 centuries, almost untouched by corrosion. Modern scientists analyzing its chemical composition discovered something unusual, a high phosphorus content in the iron with very low sulfur and manganese. Because of this, the pillar's surface developed an ultra-thin protective film called Mesa White, a special compound of iron, oxygen, hydrogen, and phosphorus. This film acts like an invisible shield, preventing deeper oxidation. This process is known as passivation, a natural protective mechanism that modern science only came to fully understand in the 20th century. What is astonishing is that the ancient Indians had no knowledge of modern chemistry, yet through experience and technique, they accidentally created a unique alloy capable of protecting itself for thousands of years. This is what makes the pillar a technological enigma. The biggest question the Delhi Iron Pillar poses to modern science is, why does it not rust? Many theories have been suggested to explain this phenomenon. First, chemical analyses reveal that the pillar's composition is highly unusual. It contains an abnormally high level of phosphorus while being almost free of manganese and sulfur. This unique balance allowed a thin compound layer called Mesa White, made of iron, oxygen, hydrogen, and phosphorus, to form on the surface, acting as a natural shield against oxidation. In addition, some researchers believe Delhi's semi-arid climate helps slow down corrosion, though this factor alone cannot fully explain the mystery. The metallurgical techniques of the Gupta craftsmen also played a crucial role. They used the bloomery process to produce nearly pure iron low in impurities, making it less reactive than modern carbon steel. Interestingly, a paradoxical effect occurred when the thin initial rust layer actually stabilized into a protective coating, preventing oxygen and moisture from penetrating the metal core. Together, these factors created an almost perfect anti-corrosion mechanism. Yet the key question remains unresolved. Did the ancients intentionally develop this technology, or did they simply stumble upon a secret they themselves never fully realized? Beyond science, the Delhi Pillar holds symbolic meaning. It was originally erected in honor of the god Vishnu, one of the supreme deities of Hinduism. The Brahmi inscriptions glorifying Chandragupta the Singh turned it into an eternal monument. For the Indian people, the pillar became a symbol of incorruptibility, spiritual strength, and the endurance of their civilization. Although the anti-rust mechanism of the Delhi Iron Pillar has been partly explained by modern science, a greater mystery remains unanswered. How were the ancient Indians able to create such a massive and enduring metal structure? The large-scale forge welding technique they employed seems to have vanished with no trace in later centuries. For this reason, many scholars refer to it as a form of lost technology, a mark of knowledge buried by time. The pillar is not only a historical artifact, but also a message from the past, reminding humanity that countless ancient insights still lie undiscovered or beyond our ability to fully recreate. Today, the Delhi Pillar is not only a famous tourist site, but also a symbol of science and human wonder. It proves that human intelligence in any era can achieve results beyond expectation. Its survival challenges the notion that only modern science represents the peak of knowledge. In reality, Indian craftsmen, more than 600 years ago, reached their own pinnacle, one that we still cannot fully replicate. The Iron Pillar of Delhi still stands firm under the Indian sun and rain-defying natural laws. Its miraculous rust resistance is partly explained by science, yet many questions remain. It is not only a story of metallurgy, but also of human intellect, faith, and the mysteries of the past. Perhaps the Delhi Pillar proves that science is not only what we already know, but also the mysteries still unanswered. And maybe that is its greatest legacy to humanity over the past 600 years. In the late 1930s, a Chinese archaeological team was said to have discovered a series of strange stone discs in remote caves of the Bayan Kara Ula Mountains near the Tibetan border. These discs immediately attracted attention due to their unusual shape, about 30 centimeters in diameter, only a few millimeters thick, with a small hole in the center that made them look strikingly similar to modern vinyl records. Even more curious, the surfaces bore spiral grooves running from the center to the outer edge, resembling the recording pattern of an ancient phonograph disc. The obvious question arose, how could an object supposedly thousands of years old carry a design so similar to 20th century technology? What do you think? Could these discs truly be ancient artifacts, or do they suggest knowledge far beyond their time? Share your thoughts in the comments below. What made the Dropa stones most unique and haunting were the tiny engravings along these spirals. To the naked eye, they looked like random scratches. Yet upon closer inspection, researchers realized the markings repeated in patterned sequences, almost as if they formed a written language or coded script never before encountered. They were not Egyptian hieroglyphs, not Sumerian cuneiform, nor related to any known ancient Chinese writing systems. They stood entirely apart, as though belonging to a civilization never recorded in history. According to legend, some Soviet and Chinese scholars spent years attempting to decode the inscriptions. They allegedly concluded that the spirals told the story of a tribe called the Dropa, who came from a distant planet. Their spacecraft malfunctioned and crash-landed in these desolate mountains. Unable to return, they survived by assimilating with local inhabitants. Strangely enough, this legend matched long-standing Tibetan folklore, describing a mysterious, small-statured people with unusual features recorded sporadically in oral tradition. Among the many hypotheses surrounding the Dropa stones, perhaps the most profound and hotly debated mystery is the true nature of the tiny spiral engravings carved onto their surfaces. Many fringe researchers argue that these are not mere decorative patterns, but could represent a kind of cosmic passport or event record left behind by the ancestors of the Dropa. The image of evenly spaced grooves spiraling outward from the center strongly evokes the data storage design of modern phonograph records, leading to the idea that these discs may be regarded as primitive digital recordings. Some reports even claim that when certain artifacts were subjected to X-ray analysis, they emitted unusual vibrations, as though retaining ancient electromagnetic signals. If true, the Dropa stones would not simply be archaeological relics, but may once have functioned as information storage devices far ahead of their time. Yet the line between science and myth remains blurred. Are these truly an undeciphered language system, or merely ritualistic carvings? Skeptics argue the grooves could have formed naturally or been created as artistic expressions of an ancient community. Still, the regularity and consistent repetition of the symbols make the coincidence explanation difficult to accept. It is precisely this tension between rational skepticism and boundless speculation that has enshrined the Dropa stones as a mystery eternally poised at the boundary between archaeology and imagination about extraterrestrial civilizations. In the treasury of Tibetan folklore, there are frequent mentions of a small-statured people, slender in build, yet with unusually large heads and elongated slanted eyes, physical traits that set them apart entirely from the native groups of the region. They were regarded as outsiders, living in remote valleys in isolation and seldom interacting with surrounding communities. Some folktales even describe their ancestors as having descended from a radiant sky, but due to some calamity, they were unable to return to their original homeland. Such details have inspired many scholars to hypothesize that the Dropa stones may represent evidence of an extraterrestrial migration to Earth tens of thousands of years ago. If the spiral inscriptions truly represent the written language of the Dropa, then these discs could be seen as a self-written chronicle recording the reasons for their arrival, their struggle to integrate and survive, and the messages they hoped to pass on to future generations. Yet in the absence of any decipherment, the Dropa stones remain a silent library, safeguarding secrets that modern humanity has not yet found the means to unlock. One of the aspects that makes the Dropa stones such an unfathomable mystery is their unusual material and properties. Some reports claim that when analyzed, the disk's surfaces were found to contain not only ordinary stone, but also rare metals such as cobalt, a material extremely difficult to work with using primitive tools thousands of years ago. This immediately raises the question: how could people living in remote mountain regions have crafted an object so thin, so precise, and made of such complex compounds? Beyond that, records suggest that when certain disks were placed on vibration generators, they emitted a faint humming sound similar to electromagnetic resonance. This phenomenon hints that the stones may not have been mere ritual artifacts, but could once have functioned as some kind of information storage device. If this hypothesis is correct, then the spiral grooves etched with tiny symbols across their surfaces might represent a form of data, like an ancient recording still waiting for modern technology to unlock. Although the stories surrounding the Dropa stones are captivating, mainstream science has always maintained a skeptical and cautious stance. Many archaeologists believe the entire affair may be a fabrication from the 20th century, originating from unverified articles and records. A major issue is the complete absence of tangible evidence. No museum, laboratory, or reputable institution today openly displays or preserves these disks for study. Even the few photographs that once circulated have been regarded by experts as staged or lacking clear provenance. Ironically, this silence from official sources has only made the mystery more alluring, leaving a vacuum for public imagination to flourish and transforming the Dropa stones into a legend passed down through speculation rather than a confirmed archaeological discovery. Today, Dropa stones frequently appear in UFO literature, ancient alien documentaries, and paranormal forums. They are often cited as a classic piece of evidence for extraterrestrial visitation in antiquity. Regardless of whether they are real, the story continues to spark fascination. Could humanity truly be not alone? And might our planet once have hosted contact with another civilization? Dropa stones, China, remain one of the 20th century's most intriguing enigmas. Their record-like design and, above all, their undeciphered spiral inscriptions set them apart from other mysterious artifacts. Though many doubt their authenticity, they raise a profound question. If these are indeed a language, what message from the past are we failing to understand? Perhaps they are nothing more than myth. But perhaps hidden beneath the dust of history lies a message from visitors beyond the stars, beings who once set foot on our blue planet tens of thousands of years ago. In the heart of Lebanon's Bekaa Valley lies an archaeological complex that has astonished the world. This is Baalbek, once celebrated as the city of the son of the Romans. Yet what truly shocks visitors is not only the grandeur of its Roman columns, but the massive foundations built from stone blocks, weighing hundreds, even thousands of tons. These stones were cut and fitted with incredible precision, so exact that modern science still cannot fully explain it. Was this simply the result of superior ancient engineering, or does it conceal a greater secret of a lost civilization? So, what do you think? How were the gigantic stones of Baalbek transported and placed? Do you believe this was the result of a long-lost construction technique, or could there be an even greater mystery behind it? Share your thoughts and theories in the comments below. When speaking of Baalbek, the most overwhelming feature is the massive foundation built from the famous trilithon stones. Each block measures nearly 20 meters in length, 4 meters in height, 4 meters in thickness, and is estimated to weigh between 800 and 1,000 tons. To put this into perspective, A giant Boeing 747 aircraft, one of modern engineering's greatest achievements, only weighs about 400 tons at takeoff. This means each block at Baalbek is twice the weight of a fully loaded jumbo jet. And that is only the beginning. Beyond the trilithon, the site contains even larger blocks, the most famous being the Hajar el-Hibla, the stone of the pregnant woman, weighing around 1,200 tons. More astonishingly, archaeologists recently discovered another block nearby that may weigh between 1,650 and 1,700 tons, considered the largest hewn stone ever quarried by human hands. These figures push far beyond every known limit of ancient construction technology. The inevitable question arises: how could ancient builders transport, lift, and precisely place such massive stones without cranes, engines, or any form of modern machinery? This enduring mystery has cemented Baalbek as one of the greatest challenges to archaeological science today. What overwhelms researchers the most at Baalbek is not only the sheer size of the stones, but also the unbelievable precision in their cutting and fitting. The blocks were placed so tightly together that not even a thin sheet of paper could slip between them. They were not simply stacked, but meticulously aligned to bear the colossal weight of the entire temple complex above for thousands of years without shifting. On the surfaces of many blocks, traces of clean, straight cuts can still be seen, indicating an extremely refined method of stoneworking. Yet what kind of tools could achieve such precision remains a mystery. The Romans were famous as master builders, but in most of their other works, the stones used weighed only a few tons, or at most several dozen tons, already challenging enough to transport and set. At Baalbek, however, the scale surpasses every known standard, involving blocks weighing hundreds to even thousands of tons. This raises the pressing question: why did the builders push the limits so far when smaller, more manageable blocks could have provided the same structural stability? To this day, no satisfying answer has been found, leaving Baalbek's construction techniques one of the greatest archaeological mysteries in human history. One of the greatest questions surrounding Baalbek is how the ancients could have moved and positioned stone blocks weighing hundreds to even thousands of tons with such precision. For decades, archaeologists and engineers have proposed numerous theories to explain this phenomenon. The most common suggests that ancient builders might have used systems of levers, pulleys, and massive earthen ramps to haul the stones from quarries to the site. However, moving a single block weighing over 1,000 tons across hundreds of meters and then lifting it several meters high would have required manpower and resources far beyond the capabilities of any known ancient civilization. Other theories suggest that they may have reduced friction by lubricating the ground with oil or water, or by employing wooden rollers. Yet applying these methods to blocks of such colossal size, many times larger than those used in other ancient monuments, remains highly implausible. From here, bolder ideas have emerged, including the possibility that the ancients possessed some form of lost technology, enabling them to manipulate these massive stones with incredible precision. Some even go as far as to link Baalbek to the involvement of an extraterrestrial civilization, seeing it as evidence that early humans may not have been alone in history. Although no explanation has ever proven fully convincing, these debates only add to Baalbek's allure, making it one of archaeology's greatest mysteries and urging humanity to continue seeking answers. A common hypothesis is that the massive foundations of Baalbek were not built by the Romans at all, but long predated them, belonging to an earlier, now vanished civilization. The Romans may have simply constructed the temples of Jupiter, Bacchus, and Venus atop an existing platform. This would explain why the upper structures clearly bear Roman design, while the base surpasses typical Roman engineering by an astonishing degree. Local legends link Baalbek to gods and giants. The Phoenicians once worshipped the god Baal here, and later the Greeks and Romans turned the site into a grand religious center with monumental temples. This layering of cultures over thousands of years has left Baalbek both an archaeological treasure and a place steeped in myth. What makes Baalbek extraordinary is its unusual combination. The temple architecture above is unmistakably Roman, yet the foundation, built from stones of unfathomable size, seems almost otherworldly. Other ancient structures, like the pyramids of Giza or Stonehenge, also pose mysteries, but at least plausible theories exist about their construction. Baalbek stands apart, with no fully convincing explanation of why or how stones weighing thousands of tons were moved and fitted so precisely. Baalbek, Lebanon is not just a magnificent Roman temple complex, it is also proof of a construction enigma that defies modern science. Its unbelievable building technique, using colossal stones weighing up to several thousand tons, has made it one of the greatest archaeological wonders of humanity. It challenges imagination, undermines conventional knowledge about ancient capabilities, and opens the door to countless theories, from forgotten technologies and massive labor forces to even the possibility of otherworldly assistance. Today, visitors come to Baalbek not only to admire the towering Roman columns that still remain, but also to stand in awe before the massive foundation stones, timeless testimony to a construction method beyond comprehension. Baalbek is a place where the past still whispers its unanswered riddles, daring humanity to keep searching, questioning, and asking whether we truly understand the full extent of what our distant ancestors were capable of achieving. High on a windswept hill near the Turkish city of Şanlıurfa lies a place that rewrites everything we thought we knew about human history. This is Göbekli Tepe, a site so ancient, so impossibly sophisticated that archaeologists call it the world's first temple. Dating back to around 9600 BC, more than 11,000 years ago, it predates the pyramids of Giza by 7 millennia and Stonehenge by at least 6. To stand before Göbekli Tepe is to stare into a forgotten age when humanity still hunters and gatherers somehow carved, moved, and raised towering stone pillars with techniques that defy belief. It is not merely old, it is a monument that forces us to question the very origins of civilization itself. In your opinion, how could humans 11,000 years ago, without the wheel, without metal tools, manage to move and erect massive stone pillars weighing tens of tons at Göbekli Tepe? Share your thoughts in the comments below. What makes Göbekli Tepe one of the greatest mysteries of archaeology lies in its construction techniques that were far ahead of their time. More than 11,000 years ago, humans were still living mainly as hunter-gatherers with no knowledge of the wheel, no use of metal, and not even settled agriculture. Yet they managed to create a monumental complex that astonishes modern archaeologists. The T-shaped limestone pillars erected on the hilltop, standing 3 to 6 meters tall and weighing between 10 and 20 tons, were not just massive stones, but living proof of remarkable organizational ability and technical skill. These stones were quarried from nearby sources and somehow transported across rough terrain, leaving almost no trace of the methods used. Once raised, they were arranged in circular enclosures, measuring 10 to 30 meters in diameter, with striking symmetry and always featuring 2 enormous central pillars that seemed to serve as the spiritual anchors of the entire space. This perfect balance and unimaginable scale suggest that the builders of Göbekli Tepe possessed an advanced system of organization, measurement, and the ability to mobilize manpower far beyond what we normally associate with hunter-gatherer societies. It raises a profound question. Could it be that the true beginning of civilization was not rooted in agriculture, but in humanity's capacity to unite in building sacred and ceremonial monuments? One of the greatest questions Göbekli Tepe poses to scientists is this: how could primitive communities without iron tools, without the wheel, and without the pulling power of domesticated animals manage to transport and erect colossal stone blocks weighing 10 to 20 tons with such precision? Some theories suggest they may have used rudimentary tools such as wooden pulleys, levers, or log rollers to drag the stones from nearby quarries up to the hilltop. Yet even these explanations struggle to fully account for the achievement. Imagine raising a single pillar, 6 meters tall, and weighing over 15 tons. It would certainly have required hundreds of people working in perfect coordination with clear divisions of labor and a meticulously planned engineering strategy. This implies that the builders of Göbekli Tepe, though often described as mere hunter-gatherers, actually possessed an advanced level of social organization and a surprisingly sophisticated understanding of mechanics. They not only knew how to mobilize manpower, but also understood balanced gravity and the ability to craft effective supporting tools. This enduring mystery has led many researchers to wonder, have we underestimated the creativity and technical ingenuity of our ancestors, or might there be a lost reservoir of knowledge that slipped away in the long flow of history? If the engineering that raised Göbekli Tepe's massive pillars amazed archaeologists, then the carvings etched into their surfaces reveal yet another dimension, an artistic mastery and symbolic thinking far ahead of their time. Nearly all of the pillars are carefully decorated with depictions of animals familiar to the prehistoric environment: lions, foxes, snakes, aurochs, gazelles, vultures, scorpions, and wild boars. These engravings were not merely religious symbols. They also demonstrate a keen eye for detail and a deep understanding of animal anatomy and behavior. The figures are executed in both relief and incised styles, arranged with clear balance and composition, proving that these ancient artisans possessed not only technical skill, but also an extraordinary sense of aesthetics. Remarkably, some pillars also display abstract geometric motifs, circles, zigzag lines, and puzzling combinations that have led many scholars to propose these may represent a proto-symbolic system, or even one of the earliest forms of pre-writing. In this sense, each pillar at Göbekli Tepe was not just a block of stone, but a monumental tablet carrying spiritual belief, artistic expression, and messages from humanity's earliest dawn. The combination of carving and construction formed a unique architectural complex. Unlike residential sites, Göbekli Tepe shows no signs of daily life, no hearths, farming tools, or living quarters. Instead, it seems to have been built purely for ceremonial and religious purposes. This overturns the traditional view of human progress. Previously, it was believed that people built temples only after settling into agricultural societies. Göbekli Tepe, however, suggests the opposite, that religious and spiritual needs may have driven people to gather, organize, and eventually develop farming and permanent settlements. Another mystery is that the entire complex was deliberately buried around 8000 BC. This was not due to a natural disaster, but an intentional act by humans. Archaeologists believe the builders may have wanted to end a religious era, or perhaps preserve the site for future generations. Thanks to this deliberate burial, Göbekli Tepe remained nearly intact for millennia, allowing us to study it today. Discoveries at Göbekli Tepe raise numerous unresolved questions. Who exactly built this site? How did they transport and raise the massive stones? Why would a non-agricultural society dedicate such immense resources to a project of this scale? And most importantly, what compelled them to construct such a monumental temple at the dawn of human history? Archaeologists are still excavating and studying Göbekli Tepe. Many areas remain untouched, promising discoveries that could completely change our understanding of civilization's origins. Some theories propose it was a ceremonial center for a wide community, a place to worship ancestors, natural deities, or to perform rituals concerning life and death. Others speculate Göbekli Tepe may have served as a primitive astronomical observatory where early humans tracked stars and seasonal cycles. Whatever the ultimate answer, Göbekli Tepe's extraordinary construction remains proof of prehistoric humanity's remarkable creativity. It shows that from the very beginning, humans sought not just survival, but meaning-creating symbols tied to belief and aspiration. Göbekli Tepe stands as a milestone marking the dawn of thought, religion, art, and social organization. Today, standing before the colossal T-shaped pillars built more than a millennium before any other known civilization, modern humans cannot help but feel awe. Göbekli Tepe is more than an archaeological site. It is a timeless message that even at the dawn of history, our ancestors possessed the intellect and ambition to create wonders that challenge time, science, and even our understanding of ourselves. Beneath the blazing sun of the Egyptian desert, an immense silhouette rises from the sands, mysterious, timeless, and almost otherworldly. For over 4,500 years, the Great Pyramid of Giza has stood as a silent guardian of secrets, dwarfing all who stand before it. Once the tallest man-made structure on Earth for nearly 4 millennia, this colossal monument was built with millions of stone blocks, each weighing tons, yet fitted together with a precision that even modern engineers struggle to explain. Was it truly just a tomb for a pharaoh, or the key to an ancient technology we no longer understand? What do you think? Was the Great Pyramid of Giza simply a tomb, or could it hold secrets of a forgotten ancient technology? Share your thoughts in the comments below. The sheer scale of the Great Pyramid of Giza is almost beyond imagination. Constructed from an estimated 2.3 million stone blocks, each averaging 2 to 3 tons in weight, with some massive blocks reaching over 70 tons, the monument as a whole is believed to weigh around 6.5 million tons. To put that into perspective, if these stones were laid end to end, they could form a continuous wall nearly 3 meters high, stretching thousands of kilometers from the banks of the Nile deep into the heart of Europe. What makes this even more extraordinary is the context of its creation, around 2560 BCE, long before the advent of iron tools, steel chisels, or advanced lifting machinery. The ancient Egyptians had no cranes, no metal pulleys, and no modern vehicles to transport such colossal materials. Yet somehow, they not only moved these immense blocks across considerable distances, but also stacked them with such precision that the pyramid rose into a perfect geometric form. This astonishing feat raises an enduring question: how did a civilization over 4,500 years ago, with seemingly limited technology, manage to achieve an engineering accomplishment that continues to baffle experts even today? One of the most astonishing aspects of the Great Pyramid of Giza lies in its unparalleled precision. Modern measurements reveal that its 4 sides align almost perfectly with the cardinal points north, south, east, and west, with a deviation of only 0.067 degrees. To put that into perspective, even contemporary construction projects equipped with laser instruments and advanced surveying tools often struggle to achieve such accuracy. The base of the pyramid is another marvel. Despite covering an area of more than 13 acres, the entire foundation is leveled with a discrepancy of less than 2 centimeters. This is an achievement so exact that it seems impossible for a civilization more than 4,500 years old without modern engineering equipment to have accomplished it. Equally impressive is the way the massive stone blocks were placed. The joints are so finely cut and fitted that even today, a razor blade or a sheet of paper cannot be inserted between them. Such flawless craftsmanship has led many experts to admit that even with current technology, reproducing this level of precision on a structure of such immense scale would be a daunting, if not impossible, task. The most compelling mystery of the Great Pyramid of Giza does not lie in its age, nor even in its immense size, but rather in the enigma of how it was built. Despite being one of the most studied monuments in the world, not a single ancient record provides detailed instructions on the construction techniques used by the Egyptians more than 4,500 years ago. What we know is that millions of stone blocks, some weighing over 70 tons, had to be quarried, transported, lifted, and fitted with astonishing precision, raising the question, how could a civilization without iron tools, cranes, or wheels achieve such a feat? Scholars have long debated this puzzle, producing theories that remain controversial. The most traditional explanation is the long, straight ramp theory, suggesting a massive ramp extended for kilometers to haul stones up. But this requires an implausible amount of material, more than the pyramid itself, and makes little sense logistically. Another idea is the external spiral ramp, winding around the pyramid's outer face, allowing stones to be pulled upward gradually. Yet excavations have revealed no traces of such a structure. In contrast, French architect Jean-Pierre Houdin proposed the internal spiral ramp theory, envisioning a hidden passageway within the pyramid itself, where stones could be dragged step by step. Some infrared scans seem to support this model, though evidence remains inconclusive. Beyond these more speculative ideas suggest lost technologies, chemical methods to soften limestone hydraulic systems, or even help from a highly advanced civilization, ancient or otherwise. Though fringe, such theories reveal the depth of human fascination with the pyramid. Strangest of all is the silence of Egyptian records. Thousands of hieroglyphs remain describing festivals, taxes, and rituals, yet none explain how the pyramids were built. Was the knowledge deliberately kept secret, known only to a select priesthood, or simply lost in the sands of time? This absence fuels the enduring mystery. The Great Pyramid is not just a monument of stone, but a riddle carved into history itself. According to traditional views, the Great Pyramid of Giza was built as a tomb for Pharaoh Khufu, intended to guide the king into the eternal afterlife. However, one major point of controversy is that archaeologists have never discovered a mummy inside the Great Pyramid, only empty chambers and mysterious passageways. This has led many scholars to question whether it truly served solely as a tomb, or whether it carried a far greater purpose. Some theories suggest that this monumental structure may have been designed as an astronomical observatory, allowing the ancient Egyptians to track the movements of the stars and calculate cosmic cycles. Others propose that it functioned as a timekeeping instrument based on shadows, or even as an ancient energy generator harnessing its precise geometry and unique internal design. Though unproven, such theories broaden our perspective, suggesting that the pyramid was not only a place of burial, but also a powerful symbol linking knowledge, religion, and the cosmos. One of the most remarkable and mysterious aspects of the Giza complex is its connection to the cosmos. Numerous studies have shown that the three largest pyramids, Khufu, Khafre, and Menkaure, are arranged in an almost perfect line corresponding to the positions of the three stars in Orion's belt. In ancient Egyptian belief, the constellation Orion was associated with the god Osiris, the deity of rebirth and the afterlife. This alignment suggests that the Egyptians did not build the pyramids merely as colossal physical structures, but also as vessels carrying profound astronomical knowledge and deep religious symbolism. By linking architecture with the heavens, they transformed the pyramids into a bridge between humanity and the universe, between the finite realm of earthly existence and the eternity of the divine world. More than 4,500 years have passed, yet humanity still debates. How were millions of massive stone blocks transported and arranged with such flawless precision? Why is there no ancient record of the construction methods, and was the pyramid merely a tomb or a monument with cosmic and spiritual significance far beyond what we can imagine? These unanswered questions make the Great Pyramid of Giza one of humanity's eternal enigmas. It is not merely a masterpiece of architecture, but also a book of stone filled with secrets that remain locked to this day. On the windswept plains of Salisbury, a circle of giant stones has stood for nearly 5,000 years, defying time and human understanding. Stonehenge is not just an ancient monument. It is a riddle, carved in rock, a silent challenge left by our ancestors. How could people without machines, without iron, without even the wheel-raised stones, weighing more than 20 tons, and align them with the movements of the sun? Was it a temple, a calendar, or something far beyond our imagination? Stonehenge stands as both a wonder and a question mark, a mystery that continues to haunt humanity to this very day. What ancient techniques do you believe were used to transport the massive stones of Stonehenge across more than 200 kilometers? Could simple tools and manpower really achieve such a feat? Share your thoughts in the comments below. The first remarkable feature that makes Stonehenge a true wonder lies in the scale and origin of its stones. The massive sarsen blocks, a type of hard sandstone, stand up to 7 meters tall and weigh around 25 tons, erected as towering pillars across the Salisbury Plain. Interspersed among them are smaller bluestones weighing between 2 and 5 tons. But what astonishes researchers is that these were traced back to the Preseli Hills in Wales, more than 200 kilometers away from the site. The mere act of transporting such colossal stones posed an immense challenge. If, by land, the ancients would have had to drag them across hills, valleys, and rivers. If by water, they needed to build sturdy wooden rafts and master navigation through complex currents. The extraordinary fact is that 5,000 years ago, without wheels or metal tools, these ancient communities not only succeeded in moving the stones, but also arranged them in precise positions with astonishing accuracy, leaving modern archaeologists in awe and questioning how did they accomplish such a feat. The construction techniques of Stonehenge are the central reason why this monument remains one of the greatest mysteries in the history of ancient architecture. The builders not only erected the colossal sarsen stones, each weighing tens of tons, but also placed massive lintels horizontally on top, forming trilithons, like giant stone gateways. To achieve this, they had to find a way to raise blocks, weighing 20 to 25 tons, to a height of more than 4 meters above the ground, an almost impossible task for a community without wheels, metal, or machinery. Popular theories suggest they built enormous earthen ramps, pulled the stones up with ropes, and then removed the soil once the placement was complete. Other scholars speculate about the use of complex lever systems combined with wooden scaffolding, relying on both manpower and an understanding of basic mechanics. What makes these theories less convincing is that Stonehenge was not a temporary structure, but one arranged in a nearly perfect circle with symmetrical pairs of stones and alignments so precise they suggest knowledge of mathematics and astronomy. It is this very precision that keeps the question, how did they do it, alive to this day, forcing modern science to reconsider the intellectual capacity and technical skills of prehistoric people. What makes Stonehenge even more extraordinary is that the stones were not simply stacked on top of each other at random. Upon closer inspection, archaeologists discovered that the ancient builders had carved joints and sockets directly into the stone surfaces, similar to the mortise and tenon technique used in carpentry. This method allowed the blocks to fit tightly together, reducing the risk of movement caused by storms or the erosion of time. As a result, many pairs of stones have remained standing for thousands of years, resisting wind, rain, and climatic changes. This shows that the builders of Stonehenge not only knew how to transport the stones, but also possessed a remarkable understanding of mechanics, pressure, and material strength, far beyond what we usually imagine of people in the Stone Age. Without blueprints, reinforced concrete, or heavy machinery, they still created a monument that has endured for millennia. It was this ingenious stone joining technique that helped Stonehenge remain one of the rare monuments to stand for nearly 5,000 years, defying both nature and time, and serving as a testament to the extraordinary ingenuity of prehistoric humanity. One of the most astonishing aspects of Stonehenge is the incredible astronomical precision it embodies. Research has shown that the main axis of the stone circle aligns perfectly with the position of the rising sun on the summer solstice and the setting sun on the winter solstice, two of the most important points in Earth's seasonal cycle. Such alignment is unlikely to be mere coincidence, as it required long-term observation and a solid understanding of celestial movements. This proves that the builders of Stonehenge were not just craftsmen, but also sky watchers, capable of linking the rhythms of nature with the life of their community. Many scholars believe Stonehenge may have served as a primitive observatory, allowing ancient people to predict planting and harvesting times, or to determine ritual occasions connected to the workings of the cosmos. The combination of complex engineering and precise astronomical alignment made Stonehenge both a technical marvel and a spiritual symbol, reflecting the profound connection between humankind and the heavens. To this day, the true purpose of Stonehenge remains a subject of intense debate within the academic world. Some theories suggest it once served as a ritual burial ground, as excavations have uncovered numerous human remains and cremated bones within the monument's perimeter, indicating it may have been a place of remembrance for the dead. Other scholars believe Stonehenge was a sacred religious site where people connected with the gods through collective ceremonies, a symbolic bridge between the human world and the supernatural realm. There are even bolder hypotheses proposing that it functioned as a center of healing, attracting pilgrims from far and wide who believed the stones carried supernatural energy capable of curing illness. What makes the mystery enduring is that each theory is supported by some degree of archaeological evidence or folklore, yet none has gained universal acceptance, leaving Stonehenge as an open enigma, awaiting a more definitive explanation in the future. What is undeniable is that regardless of its original function, Stonehenge has retained a crucial role in cultural and spiritual life for centuries. Today, during the summer solstice, thousands of people from around the world gather here to witness the sunrise, framed between the stones, reenacting the ancient bond between humankind and the universe. This event is not only ceremonial, but also symbolizes the enduring vitality of a heritage that has transcended time to become a global icon. From a technical perspective, Stonehenge is clearly a monument ahead of its time. The ancient builders not only mastered quarrying and transporting massive stones, but also applied principles of mechanics, construction, and astronomy in a harmonious way. This stands as evidence of the extraordinary creativity of prehistoric people, showing that human progress is not always linear and that astonishing peaks of achievement sometimes appear far earlier than we expect. It is precisely this incomplete explanation that has made Stonehenge an endless source of inspiration for scientific theories, folklore, and even speculations about intervention from advanced civilizations beyond Earth. Standing before those colossal stones, one cannot help but wonder, how did ancient people truly build Stonehenge? The question remains unanswered and may continue to haunt humanity for centuries to come. Yet it is this very mystery that gives Stonehenge its magnetic allure, not just as an archaeological site, but as a symbol of human ingenuity, faith, and the ability to push beyond limits. Hidden in the middle of the Pacific Ocean lies a place so strange, so impossible, that explorers have compared it to Atlantis itself. This is Nan Madol, a vast city built on water, made not of wood or clay, but of towering walls of volcanic stone, some blocks weighing more than 50 tons. Over 100 artificial islands rise from the lagoon, stitched together by canals like a ghostly Venice adrift at sea. And yet the greatest mystery is not what Nan Madol looks like, but how it was built at all. With no iron tools, no wheels, and no animals to haul the stones, how did an ancient island society move and stack thousands of massive blocks with such precision? To this day, no one can answer with certainty. Nan Madol stands as one of the world's most baffling puzzles, a city that seems to defy both time and human limits. Question for the audience: if an ancient society had no wheels, no iron tools, and no draft animals, how do you think they managed to move and stack basalt blocks weighing up to 50 tons to build Nan Madol? Share your thoughts and theories in the comments below. One of the most astonishing aspects of Nan Madol lies in its building material, massive basalt columns, naturally formed into hexagonal shapes through volcanic activity. Some blocks weigh up to 40-50 tons, stretching several meters long, yet they were stacked in a crisscross pattern, much like wooden log construction, but applied to solid stone. This arrangement created thick, towering walls, giving the entire complex the appearance of a colossal fortress floating in the sea. What makes it even more mysterious is that the ancient people of Pompeii had no iron tools, no knowledge of the wheel, and no large draft animals to assist them. So how could they transport these immense stones across shallow, coral-filled lagoons, and then place them precisely into position? Modern theories vary widely. Some scholars suggest the use of wooden rafts combined with tidal forces. Others point to clever applications of levers and buoyancy to reduce the stone's weight. Local legends, however, tell a different story, that the basalt blocks were moved by magic, flying into place on their own. The absence of a convincing explanation has turned Nan Madol into one of humanity's greatest enigmas, leading many to believe that some form of lost technical knowledge once existed here. One of the greatest mysteries surrounding Nan Madol is the problem of transporting its building materials. Researchers believe that the basalt used to construct the city was quarried on Pompeii Island itself, but the quarries are located dozens of kilometers away from the site. This means the ancient inhabitants had to move blocks weighing up to 40-50 tons across shallow lagoons filled with sharp coral reefs and difficult narrow waterways. Some theories suggest that they tied bamboo together to form large rafts, taking advantage of buoyancy and tidal currents to carry the stones. Yet even with bold imagination, placing such massive blocks onto fragile bamboo rafts and pulling them through narrow channels seems nearly impossible. Modern experiments further reveal that even with cranes and specialized equipment, transporting stones of this size in shallow water would require enormous cost and extremely complex procedures. This paradox has led many scholars to wonder, could the ancients have possessed a form of construction knowledge that has since been lost? Some argue they may have used clever systems of levers and pulleys, or perhaps harnessed the buoyant force of water to lighten the weight of the stones. Bolder speculations even mention the possibility of using sound or magnetic energy to lift them, though no scientific evidence supports this. All these theories only deepen the mystery of Nan Madol, turning it into a riddle far beyond our current understanding of human capability. One of the most unique and fascinating architectural features of Nan Madol is its use of stone to imitate wooden structures. Instead of building solid walls, the inhabitants stacked massive basalt columns in a crisscross pattern, much like the log cabin-style construction seen in many ancient cultures. This method not only provided stability, but also gave a sense of familiarity, as if they deliberately turned stone into wood to apply a technique they already knew in daily life. What is truly astonishing, however, is that they achieved this using blocks weighing tens of tons, requiring precise calculations down to the smallest detail to prevent collapse. Some walls at Nan Madol rise 6 to 8 meters high and are up to 5 meters thick, yet they have remained standing for centuries, despite the relentless forces of waves and time. This combination of a familiar building style with colossal materials has given Nan Madol a paradoxical beauty, familiar in form, but alien and surreal in scale and durability, making it a vivid testament to the extraordinary creativity of ancient humanity. Another factor that makes Nan Madol extraordinary is its structure as a city floating in the ocean. Beyond its massive stone walls, the entire area is interlaced with a network of canals connecting around 92 major structures, allowing boats to move between the small islets. This design earned Nan Madol the nickname Venice of the Pacific. Yet unlike Venice, where buildings were constructed on natural land foundations, Nan Madol was built entirely on artificial islands, creating stable foundations amid sand and coral reefs to support an entire stone city remains one of its greatest mysteries. This raises the question, how could ancient people design and maintain such a solid base in the middle of the sea without it collapsing over time? Scholars believe Nan Madol once served as the ceremonial and political capital of the Saudlur dynasty, which flourished between the 13th and 17th centuries. It housed palaces, temples, and royal tombs. The most famous is Nan Dawas, a massive enclosure with basalt walls nearly 8 meters high, believed to be the burial place of Saudlur rulers. Yet the true function of the whole complex remains uncertain. Some argue it was primarily a religious center for sacred rituals. Local legends say it was built with the help of 2 sorcerer brothers who magically made the massive stones fly and settle into place. The people of Pohnpei believe Nan Madol carries a curse. Those who disturb the site or remove artifacts are said to suffer misfortune. Modern tales even recount explorers who met tragic ends after taking stones or relics from the ruins, strengthening the city's aura of mystique. After the 17th century, the Saudlur dynasty collapsed, and Nan Madol was abandoned. Its once mighty walls sank into silence, overgrown with moss and lapped by ocean waves, leaving behind a ghostly city in the sea. In 2016, UNESCO designated Nan Madol a World Cultural Heritage Site, recognizing it as both a marvel of human ingenuity and a profound mystery. Still, the greatest question remains, how did ancient builders construct Nan Madol? Despite countless theories, the truth is, This moving and assembling multi-ton basalt columns without iron tools, wheels, or draft animals seems beyond the capacity of a small island society. That improbability has secured Nan Madol's place among the world's most enigmatic monuments, standing alongside Egypt's pyramids and Easter Island's Moai statues. Nan Madol is more than just an archaeological site. It is a symbol of unresolved mystery. From its colossal basalt walls and bizarre building techniques to legends of magic and curses, Nan Madol emerges as a lost city in the heart of the Pacific. It stands as both proof of ancient human creativity and a challenge to modern science, forcing us to ask, have we truly uncovered the full story of humanity's past? High above the ancient city of Cusco, a fortress of stone rises like a puzzle carved by giants. This is Sacsayhuaman, a place where walls tower with blocks so massive and so perfectly fitted that they defy imagination. No mortar binds them, yet not even a sheet of paper can slip between the joints. Standing before these colossal stones, one cannot help but wonder, how did the Inca, a civilization without wheels, iron, or modern machines, create a masterpiece that still outshines the power of earthquakes and the passage of centuries? What do you think? Could the Inca have achieved this with simple tools and manpower? Or do you believe there's still a hidden secret behind Sacsayhuaman's construction? Share your thoughts in the comments below. What makes Sacsayhuaman truly remarkable and astonishing is its extraordinary construction technique. The fortress walls were assembled from hundreds of enormous stones, some weighing hundreds of tons. No mortar, no binding material was used, yet the blocks fit so perfectly that people often say not even a razor blade can be slipped between the joints. When carefully observing the stone walls of Sacsayhuaman, the first striking impression lies in the unusual shapes of the blocks. Unlike modern architecture, which favors symmetry and neat rectangular forms, the stones here were carved into irregular polygons, each seemingly designed to fit precisely into its one and only position. When assembled, they form a colossal, seamless wall, like a three-dimensional puzzle of astonishing precision. It is this very irregularity that gave Sacsayhuaman its extraordinary resistance to earthquakes. Instead of shattering under tremors, the zigzag joints and slanted cuts allowed seismic forces to disperse, enabling the entire structure to behave like a flexible, resilient mass. History itself proves this resilience. Peru lies on the Pacific Ring of Fire, where powerful earthquakes strike frequently. Yet for centuries, the stone walls of Sacsayhuaman have remained proudly intact, while many mortar-based buildings in Cusco collapsed entirely. This demonstrates that the Inca were not only builders relying on sheer strength and collective labor, but also possessed profound knowledge of stability, balance, and durability in construction and architectural wisdom far ahead of their time. One of the greatest questions in studying Sacsayhuaman is how could the Inca cut and shape those enormous stones with near-perfect precision? This puzzle becomes even more incredible when we realize they had no knowledge of iron or steel tools, relying only on copper and stone materials, seemingly powerless against the extremely hard andesite or diorite rock. Some archaeological evidence suggests the Inca may have used harder stones to pound and grind continuously, combined with heating the rock with fire and then dousing it with cold water to crack the surface before shaping it further. However, such a method would require immense labor and enormous amounts of time, especially when applied to blocks weighing tens or even hundreds of tons. This has led many researchers to ask, did the Inca possess a lost technique, a knowledge of stoneworking that we have never discovered, Or are the remains we see today merely fragments of a far more complex, ancient technology? It is precisely this gap in explanation that fuels the enduring mystery of Sacsayhuaman, turning it into a riddle that continues to challenge modern science. If the cutting of the stones is already a mystery, then the transportation of Sacsayhuaman's colossal blocks poses an even greater puzzle for researchers. The site stands at an elevation of over 3,700 meters, yet the Inca had no wheels and no draft animals capable of pulling stones weighing tens or even hundreds of tons. A common theory suggests that thousands of people worked together with ropes and wooden rollers to drag the stones, but the Cusco region was scarce in timber, making it difficult to supply enough wood for such a massive undertaking. Even more astonishing, many stones have been identified as originating from quarries located dozens of kilometers away, meaning they had to be moved across rugged mountainous terrain, an almost unimaginable feat. Some scholars propose that the Inca constructed enormous ramps to haul the stones upward, but this would have required immense resources and manpower far beyond what seems feasible. Thus, to this day, the exact method by which the Inca transported these colossal blocks into precise positions at Sacsayhuaman remains an unsolved riddle, adding yet another layer of mystery to this extraordinary monument. Because of these unanswered questions, many mystical theories have emerged. Some believe the Inca inherited the techniques from an even older civilization, or perhaps from the gods of Andean mythology. Local legends tell of stones that could walk by themselves into place, guided by the great creator, god Viracocha. Though symbolic, such myths add to the aura of mystery that surrounds Sacsayhuaman. Remarkably, this construction was not only functional, but also artistic. Standing before the stone walls, one feels both their majesty and strength, and their elegance in design. The stones are arranged in zigzag patterns, interlocking in ways that both reinforce the walls and create aesthetic harmony. Researchers believe this zigzag design also helped distribute seismic forces, preventing the walls from collapsing during earthquakes. Today, when we look at modern buildings made with steel concrete and heavy machinery, it is hard to imagine that hundreds of years ago, in the Andes, the Inca accomplished something similar and perhaps even more durable. Modern engineers who studied Sacsayhuaman's structure admit that with today's technology, replicating it precisely using only ancient manual methods would be nearly impossible. Beyond its extraordinary construction techniques, Sacsayhuaman also puzzles researchers with its true function. Spanish chronicles, written after the fall of the Inca Empire, described it as a massive fortress where soldiers gathered to defend Cusco against enemy attacks. However, its immense scale, refined layout, and symbolic design have led many scholars to believe the site also served as a religious ceremonial center. When placed within the broader context of Cusco, which was planned in the shape of a puma, the Inca's sacred animal, Sacsayhuaman, is thought to represent the head of this spiritual creature. This suggests that the site was not merely a military stronghold, but also a spiritual hub of power, a place where important rituals were performed deeply tied to the Inca worldview and their religious beliefs. Through the centuries, Sacsayhuaman has stood as a testament to human creativity. Despite wars, colonial destruction, and devastating earthquakes, its massive stone walls remain unshaken. Today, it is not only a UNESCO World Heritage Site, but also a symbol of genius and mystery yet to be solved. What makes this place extraordinary is not only its physical beauty, but the unanswered questions it leaves behind. How did the Inca lift and fit 100-ton stones with such flawless precision? What tools or techniques did they truly use? And more importantly, Are we missing fragments of ancient knowledge that modern humanity has yet to rediscover? Perhaps it is precisely this ambiguity that makes Sacsayhuaman a living legend. It is not merely a relic of the past, but an ongoing challenge to modern science, forcing us to keep searching, to keep questioning, and to reconsider the true potential of civilizations long gone. High on the wind-swept plateaus of the Bolivian Andes stands a ruin that defies time, logic, and even the limits of human imagination, Puma Punku. To the Aymara people, its name means the Gate of the Puma. Yet what survives here is more than a gate. It is a riddle carved in stone. Massive blocks lie scattered across the earth, each cut with astonishing precision edges, sharp as though made by machines, surfaces smooth as glass. Scholars, engineers, and explorers alike have struggled to explain how a civilization over 1,000 years ago could achieve feats that even today's technology finds daunting. Puma Punku is not just an ancient ruin, it is a silent challenge to everything we think we know about human history. So, what do you think? Was Puma Punku built with a lost ancient technology, or could it truly be evidence of something beyond our world? Share your thoughts in the comments below. When setting foot in Puma Punku, visitors cannot help but be overwhelmed by the strange sight: massive stone slabs scattered chaotically across the windswept plateau, some weighing hundreds of tons. At first glance, it seems like nothing more than the crumbled remains of an ancient structure long destroyed. But on closer inspection, hidden within this disorder are traces of craftsmanship almost impossible to believe. The blocks are shaped with perfect geometry, flawless right angles, surfaces so smooth they reflect light, and parallel grooves aligned with machine-like precision. Most striking of all are the H-shaped blocks, H-blocks, the true icons of Puma Punku. They exhibit nearly standardized dimensions, uniform structures, and an astonishing repetition. Archaeologists have found hundreds of them, and when pieced together, they fit seamlessly like gigantic Lego pieces carved from andesite, a stone so incredibly hard it is nearly impossible to work with primitive tools. This astonishing sight forces every observer to ask, how could an ancient civilization have achieved such an extraordinary level of engineering skill? The extraordinary precision in stoneworking at Puma Punku has become one of the greatest mysteries challenging modern archaeology. The Tiwanaku people, a civilization that existed around the 5th to 6th century AD, are believed to be the builders of this site. But what methods could they have possibly used to create stone blocks crafted with near perfection? What puzzles researchers is that there is no clear evidence showing they possessed advanced iron or steel tools, while the andesite stone used here is almost as hard as steel, so hard that even modern technology requires significant effort to cut and shape it. How then did the ancients produce razor-sharp cuts, flawlessly flat surfaces, and right angles so precise they defy belief? Some scholars suggest they may have discovered a special alloy strong enough to work such hard stone. Meanwhile, bolder theories claim this could be the result of a long-lost technology from millennia ago, or even traces of intervention by a civilization beyond Earth. This very contradiction between the undeniable physical evidence and the limits of technology recognized by mainstream history has made Puma Punku one of the most famous and hotly debated archaeological enigmas in the world. One of the most astonishing features of Puma Punku is the technique used to join the stone blocks. Unlike many ancient structures where slabs were simply stacked, the stones here were connected through a system of tenons, grooves, and complex joints resembling enormous mechanical components. Researchers have discovered small drill holes, both circular and square, cut so cleanly and straight that they appear to be the work of modern drills. Some blocks even contain perfectly interlocking grooves, creating a natural locking mechanism that made the structure stable without the need for mortar. This design was especially important in an earthquake-prone region like the Andes, as the ingenious joints could absorb and distribute seismic forces, preventing the entire structure from collapsing. Engineers who have studied the site admit that Puma Punku's system of connections not only surpassed many contemporary civilizations, but also reflects principles remarkably similar to those used in modern construction. This detail reveals that the ancients did more than raise colossal stones. They also understood the forces of nature and harnessed that knowledge to create a structure capable of enduring for millennia. Beyond the incredible precision of the stonework, another mystery at Puma Punku that continues to baffle researchers is how the ancients transported the colossal blocks. Many of these stones have been proven to originate from quarries located tens of kilometers away, with individual blocks weighing up to 100 or 130 tons each. Moving them across rugged terrain at an altitude of more than 3,800 meters above sea level was a challenge that seems nearly impossible. The theory of wooden rollers has been dismissed since the Andean highlands are scarce in large trees. If manpower alone was used, the process would have required thousands of people working in perfect coordination under harsh conditions, something difficult to imagine for an ancient agricultural society. Some scholars suggest that they may have employed ramps, sled systems, or even some form of hydraulic technology, yet no definitive evidence has been found. Thus, the mystery of how these enormous stones were brought to Puma Punku remains intact, standing as one of archaeology's greatest unanswered questions. Many modern engineers, upon examining Puma Punku's stones, admit that the precision is comparable to products of modern CNC machines. The edges are razor-sharp, the surfaces so flat they reflect light, and the parallel grooves look like industrial machining marks. This sparks heated debates. Did the Tiwanaku achieve an advanced technological level unrecognized by mainstream history, or are these ruins the work of an even older civilization that vanished long before the Tiwanaku people arrived? Aside from technical aspects, Puma Punku also carries traces of religious and astronomical significance. Some theories suggest that the overall layout was connected to sky observation, reflecting the astronomical knowledge of ancient people. Certain stone alignments correspond to the rising and setting of the sun during solstices. This implies that beyond its architectural value, Puma Punku may have been a ceremonial center tied to cosmic beliefs of an ancient civilization. Still, most of Puma Punku's allure revolves around the mystery of its construction techniques. Archaeologists today can measure and model the site, but fully replicating the methods of its builders remains nearly impossible. This contradiction, clear physical evidence against the apparent absence of matching technology in historical records, makes Puma Punku one of the most debated sites in archaeology. It forces us to ask, have we overlooked an important chapter in human history, or have we underestimated the extraordinary ingenuity of our ancestors? Today, when visitors travel to Bolivia and stand among the ruins of Puma Punku, they see more than collapsed stones. They witness a challenge to historical understanding. Each cut, each joint, each massive block, resting silently for millennia, whispers to humanity, there are things about the past we still do not understand. For this reason, Puma Punku is not just an archaeological site, but also a symbol of mystery and timeless human genius.